Hey, what it do?
Ahoy!
What are you doing?
I'm ready to, I don't know.
What
are we,
does it
Are we
do?
sportsing? Are we not sportsing?
I mean, whatever.
I don't know.
We'll see.
It's sunny.
Usually just let it breathe, see what
I
happens.
guess. I drove back from Canada. I woke up in another country this morning.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Were you in Canada?
I was in Canada.
What were you doing up there?
This morning? I don't know. I can't tell
Picking
you.
up some drugs?
Canadian things. Got stopped at the border. A lot of questions, but here I am. And, you know.
Yeah. So you were up
couple
in...
searches later, and we're fine.
I'm guessing you were in Bellingham.
I was, and then I was Bellingham, and then Vancouver to here. So
How far is Bellingham from Vancouver?
it's close. Well, I mean, from Vancouver, because Vancouver's Vancouver's like a 30 to 40 minute drive from the border. So from Bellingham to the border, it's like you hit a 5-iron there. It's a hop, skip, and a jump. But then to get into Vancouver, it's a little bit more of a trek. So I woke up this morning bright and early. Grabbed myself a little breakfast Sammy and some caffeine, and away I went through the lovely Pacific Northwest.
Nice. Well, I'm looking here, drive time.
And now I'm here. It was cruising. I was telling
1 hour, 40 minutes.
I was telling Buckley, dude, all was right with the world. I was going along, and then some jackass in a truck nuts decided to apparently wipe out like 3 cars and shut down I-5. On the trucks, balls, yeah! 5 hours, not even through Seattle, Tacoma, not a lick of traffic. Border, breeze through 5 minutes. Everything's good. I get to the I-5 bridge thinking I've got oodles and noodles of time, and truck guy's like, yeah, no, we're not. And once again, we got like 3 miles of signs telling us that the left 2 lanes are blocked and everyone has to get over. If I had the power to control who lived and died, like 100 people would be dead today.
Why?
Because you know why. You know why.
What do you mean?
Just you sons of bitches. We're all sitting there slogging in the same hour delay of traffic. And yet you're the one that drives all the way up to the accident and then just forces your way over when the emergency crew is there.
Yeah.
F you and your sense of entitlement. I hate you. And you know who you are. You do. And you know you're a terrible person. And you know everyone else hates you too. And if it was up to me, you'd be in a car wreck too.
What do you think the mentality there is?
They just don't care. This is all part of my grandioso, like, the problem with the world is no one cares. We're all trying to get through this together, and we're just, at the end of the day, a bunch of selfish monkeys.
Well, I think that's what it comes down to. It's the selfishness. It's that those people think that their time is more important than yours.
Yeah.
That they shouldn't
Do
have
they?
to make...
They
well,
do.
they think that they don't have to wait in the same thing that you have to wait in.
Well, I think they just think that somebody's going to let them in up there.
Well, and eventually someone
So
has
they
to.
so they know they're just skipping the line and just don't give a rip.
But there was one dude especially, one guy especially, that I just, if karma was a thing, he just would have veered off into the bushes. Because he just, like, at this point, right, we're right up against it. You can see the emergency, and it's like a 3-4 car wreck, so it's a big wreck. It's still going on if you're sitting on I-5 right now. Sorry. And yes, they've got the orange cones and the road flares, everything set up. And my man just is flying up the left-hand lane. So you have to get over 3. There's only 1 lane getting through. And there's no one in the middle lane. Everyone at this point has gotten over to the far lane except this asshat who just comes bailing up the left-hand lane. And then at the last minute goes over 2 lanes. And I try not to get angry, but man, I wanted some retribution. I wanted him to get in a wreck. I wanted him to slam on his brakes and go skidding into like the emergency vehicle.
What if we all unite and just agree that we will never let those people in?
I wanted to. If there was like some sort of wall that we could have built, where I was talking about building a wall and keeping people out, I want to keep that jackwagon out. That guy should have been forced to sit in some sort of weird little kid timeout dunce cap. He should have had to sit in the left-hand lane for like a 25-minute penalty for being the idiot that waited 3 miles until he tried to get over. I mean, they had signs in Vancouver telling people, wreck up ahead, left 2 lanes blocked, everyone get over.
I think about 85% of people out there would be with you in uniting in don't let them in, but there's that 15% that either is unaware or not quite aggressive enough or just like, I don't care. We're very close to being able to do that, but they just need to find one weak link, and they always do.
Yeah, there's always a weak link up there, not there?
Yeah, it's just, and I hate. Was everything was fine for 5 hours today. Everything was peachy keen right up until the end.
Well, we've got to. Okay, so I think some people are misunderstanding what you're saying, because a lot of people are saying, yeah, and I'm reading the Vancouver Fort text line, guys.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing here.
Yes.
And they're saying, well, no, actually, the best way for traffic to move along is to merge at the point of the blockage like a zipper.
Yes.
And you know that. You're
Yes.
not saying that that's not the way it should be.
No.
You're just saying you can't rush to the top of the zipper.
No. No.
There's a line here for a reason.
And you see it. It's starting when you get near the front. You can see everyone doing the zipper. And if we all just took it, if we could all just relax and give the people room and zipper over, it would work. But it doesn't. Everyone waits until the last minute, and then the zipper thing, yes, I know that in theory that's what you're supposed to do, and no one practices it. No one. And that jackass at the end, he's not trying to zipper. Okay? He in no way is attempting the zipper. He's doing I'm shoving my ass to the front of this line and forcing my way in. That's what that guy's doing. Let's not act like that guy is like, well, the zipper is the most effective method, therefore that's what I'm doing, and it's everyone else's the problem. No. No, no, no. Hatchback bro, I know who you are. You know who you are. You're an ass.
The better move here, or at least the more respectable move, is once you are alerted of a problem up ahead,
start thinking about the zip.
You got to get over.
Yes. And everyone beside needs to understand. Everyone else needs to get over. So let's start widening the cars between us.
Yeah.
Letting people start getting over. And if we'd all start the zipper before you get to the actual point where there's nowhere else to go, this would all go better. And I get there's going to be a delay, but there's no reason for that to be an hour delay. An hour. Come on.
Yeah.
And yes, this person's right. Bare minimum 15-yard penalty and a loss of down. I'd throw that flag up. We need referees at the point of attack throwing penalty flags.
What's a loss of down on a freeway? Take them back to the last exit?
I think so. I think it's the only way to do it. You got to get off you got to loop around.
You know what would be cool?
You're not allowed.
Is if like right up towards the top of where a merging lane ends, and all the way back to where the merging lane begins, there should be incremental under the ground. There should be incremental walls.
Yes.
And someone should be monitoring, like, the eye in the sky in New York for football.
Yeah.
And they should have cameras on all merge lanes all over the world. And they call the penalties.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, whoa. 15 yards. Yeah. And they put up the wall.
I love it.
And now they put up the wall behind you.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere.
You can't go anywhere. And all of a sudden, people would be a little more aware of the others around you. I mean, I'm letting people in left and right. I understand the problem. And look, I wasn't in the right-hand lane immediately because that would have clogged up everything. I took my time, but the moment I went from the left to the middle, I was letting people in left and right, and then eventually someone let me into the right, and then I let other people in. Again, just give everyone some common space. But when everyone else has been going 4 miles an hour for 45 minutes, and I see some D-bag going 38 to 45, bombing down the left-hand lane because everyone else has gotten over, you're not participating in the zipper. You're just being a douche, and you know you're a douche. So unless your kid's getting ready to get, like your kid's about ready to come, your wife's giving birth, or your house is on fire, get your ass in line with everyone else. Can't stand it.
All right, well, glad we covered that.
That was I was like...
Grievances on a Monday.
When you've gone that long with no traffic,
hey.
Think about that. Border, Seattle, Tacoma, no problem. And then you're on the home stretch. You're like 15 minutes from your destination. And then, boom, that happens.
Yeah, but as white guys, we got to gripe about something.
Yeah,
so,
Really got problems.
We're always going to be bitching. So, there's another one for you. All right, well, good little weekend.
Well, it's a good little weekend.
Sports weekend.
Yeah.
Although,
not if you were like I don't know, if you were a beaver, a husky, or a panther. So I can't say. I mean, for some, it was great.
Well, I'm just talking about us. I don't care about Panthers.
I had a great time. Went up to the little Point Roberts, the little inlet there, a little piece of freedom in the socialistic hellhole that is Canada. Watched some American football there at the Reef Tavern. It was fantastic. It's great. It's a great weekend of football.
Yeah, I would go ahead and call out the Civil War for being pretty boring.
Yeah, it wasn't good. In fact, can I be honest? I flipped over.
Oh, you can be honest.
I flipped over to the Apple Cup.
You should be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I did not get to see the greatness that is Dante Moore because that game.
Hey,
was
I
over.
watched him.
I flipped. I was like, Apple Cup. I had to make business decisions. I was at a bar, and
That
I
game.
swiveled the seat, and it was about the Apple Cup.
Look,
at
it
that
was
point.
really boring.
Yeah.
I mean, shockingly boring. I mean, stunningly boring.
Even when it was a one-score game,
Yes.
it didn't feel like it
was super boring.
It didn't. I mean,
it had nothing.
The only reason it was a one-score game because Oregon only had the ball 3 times. Did anyone think that at any point they weren't going to score every time they had the ball? I mean, it just.
Well, I did.
Did you?
Yeah. At the end of the half, 15 seconds, they weren't.
Well, there you go.
They weren't scoring.
I'm not going to lie. Even at that point, I was a little like, maybe.
Well, we're going to start there, guys, whether you like it or not. Oregon football had a nice weekend, even if it was boring to watch.
Well, you finally saw.
They dismantled them.
I mean, that's no offense, but that's what you should have done the first 2 weeks. Like, that's like you got to see what the Death Star looked like when it was fully functioning. And it was pretty scary because they just, that's a bludgeoning.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep, that's where we start. We'll get our college football Christinian here. Washington State with the big statement. And we have our first quarterback benched in the NFL. Remember who we were going to bet on?
Yeah.
Not him. We were not going to bet on him.
No.
We were going to bet on Kirk Cousins.
I just thought for the sake of
for the odds, because he was like long shot. It was like 28-1.
Well, you like that? There's no one else that like going anywhere. You would think that they were just going to see this thing out at least to the end of the year. Wrong. Sit down, Carolina.
Yeah. I don't know why we didn't think about him.
I just really thought that there's nothing else and they're not going anywhere. So
he's the number 1 overall pick, so you might as well just stick with him.
Putting Andy Dalton in a football game at this point for the Carolina Panthers serves no purpose.
The Red Rocket.
Other than, unless the coach and GM are worried about getting fired by your jackass owner.
Well, the coach and GM are always worried about getting fired.
Then that's the only because this does not help your team in any way.
I mean, well, I think it does help him. Andy Dalton will be better than Bryce Young.
I'm talking about moving forward.
Yeah, but the coach has to try to win as best he can.
I guess.
Because otherwise he's going to lose that $1 million job.
So you win 2 games instead of 1. Congratulations.
Well, that's not how he views it. He wants to save that money for mama.
Stink.
Anyway, we'll get to that, but we'll start with Oregon football next on The Fan.
The defender.
All right, poll question time. On X at 1080 The Fan on Friday, we asked you, what is the best bet on the board in the Pacific Northwest this weekend? 53% of you wanted Oregon State plus 16.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty juicy, to be honest with you, the way Oregon had played. Wrong.
Oregon minus 16 was 23%. Washington State plus 5, 17%. And then Washington minus 5, only 7%. That's how it all went down on Friday. And sure enough, Oregon covered and Washington State covered.
Yes, indeed.
Good little weekend. So here's today's poll question. Is Oregon football back? Damn right. Nah, not yet. Or never went anywhere.
There's going to be a lot of that.
Yeah.
Vote.
Jeez.
Vote and vote hard.
The answer to that is no, not yet. No offense, but like,
who are you offending?
Let's see it here. Although you get a bye week now, you're going to continue to get healthy. You got 2 more games. UCLA's dreadful. Michigan State, again, from a talent standpoint, shouldn't hang with you, and then Ohio State. So, look, it's a big step. Like I said, this is the first time we've seen Oregon look like what we thought Oregon should look like. So, you know, what we've seen, and we haven't seen the ceiling necessarily, but we've seen now, again, what this is supposed to look like, but we've also seen what it can look like. So I'm not ready to say anything other than this was a dominant performance, and it feels good if you're a Duck fan to see your team play the way they should play, and no more offensive line rotation. I kind of thought they would, but this is the lineup we talked about. The second half of Boise looked like by far the O-line that needed to move forward, and there was no rotation. You move Poncho over to center, left guard to right, put in Strother there as the new guard, and this line looked good. The run game was dominant. Pass protection was really clean. Not that Oregon State necessarily has a great pass rush, but more so than just not only did the offensive line look real good in the run game and pass protection, but no dumb penalties, right? No brain farts, no blown assignments. It didn't look flat-footed and slow. No effort problems. It just looked crisp, clean, and someone got someone's attention, or again, the shuffling of the line and everyone kind of settled in. Your tackles played much better. It just was, and when that old line plays, we know that the run game, the quarterback, and the receivers, that hasn't been a problem. And so once that got cleaned up, here you go. And then on the defensive side of things, I mean, the first half, Oregon State moved the ball a little bit, but again, you're not going to argue with giving up 14 points. So just all in all, this one's hard to nitpick. Are they back? No. I'm not going to say that. Beat Ohio State, or just, give Ohio State a game. Beat the continue to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat in this fashion to prove that you're a top 5 team. And then we'll find out where you're at, because when you go into the season as the 3rd ranked team in the country, and I'd say this about Texas, I say it about Bama, I say it about Georgia, any of those schools, I don't judge you based on what you do against a team with, just by far inferior competition or talent. We judge you based on those 3 or 4 games where you really should be tested by equal or close talent. So big step in the right direction. Can't say they're back.
But didn't we kind of judge them, though, in the first 2 games against teams?
Well, again, I will judge you if you are playing teams that have no business being on the field with you, and you eke out one, and you probably should have lost to Boise State. I mean, those are glaring indictments.
It's only if it's bad.
Yeah.
Because you should be beating those teams
yes.
all handily.
Yes. Idaho and Boise State should have looked way more like Oregon State did than, Oregon State obviously is going to be a bit of a punching bag right now, and I know B-Fan is licking their wounds. But to be honest with you, Boise State and Idaho are not leaps and bounds, certainly not Idaho, leaps and bounds better than Oregon State. And that game was on the road. The other 2 were at home. The reason why this game was different is not because Oregon State was lesser than. It was just that Oregon played Oregon football.
Well, they kind of caught them at a bad time,
yeah.
I think. In other words, I think the Beavers caught the Ducks at a bad time.
Yeah, they got them pissed off.
Exactly. And they had 2 bad performances under their belt, and they knew that they needed to step it up, and they did.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bode well for the Beavs that Idaho and Boise both gave Oregon a run, and they couldn't sniff one.
Yeah.
But again, that's probably more timing. Right now, 49% say, nah, not yet, not back.
Yeah.
They agree with you. 32% said, damn right. And 19% never went anywhere. So they had just 1 drive where they didn't score.
Yeah.
They averaged 7.5 yards per carry. They only got to third down 6 times in the whole game and converted 4 of them.
And Gabriel was 20 of 24.
And as you said, 0 penalties and also 0 sacks.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's not to love about that. Let's turn the page, get to the bye week, and what'd you say? UCLA next?
UCLA next, and I don't know if you've seen any of UCLA, but woof.
They might not win another game.
Indiana
They look
kicked-
so bad.
Didn't Indiana kick the crap out of them?
Killed them.
Yeah, they're really bad.
And they
Hoosiers?
almost didn't beat Hawaii. They beat Hawaai by 3 in their only other game. They had a bye week to get ready for Indiana.
Indiana put 42 on them, 42-13. I mean, it's
Yikes.
It's
Yeah, that is
like I said.
Kurt Google me bitch Signetti.
Oh, and by the way, so Oregon gets a bye. Do you know where UCLA is at this week? Because UCLA does not have a bye. So they eke by Hawaii, scored 16 points. Then they get housed by Indiana 42-13. And now they get to go on the road to a really, really calm, non-competitive environment.
Well, I'm guessing it's a Big Ten game.
No.
Oh, it's not?
SEC.
They're going to go play...
Oh, they're going to like LSU or
Ole
something,
Miss?
aren't they? Is it
LSU.
LSU?
Oh, no.
They're on the road at LSU, and then
God, you can't make the line high enough for that one.
they get Oregon. I mean, so, just again. Bleh. So Oregon will be fine. Bye week, they're going to continue to get healthy. You're going to just beat the brakes off of UCLA. And then, you got Michigan State. And then you get the big one, which everyone, everyone has circled, which has been Ohio State. And, if you play the way you did against Oregon State, now all of a sudden that that Ohio State game that for the last 2 weeks where everyone was like, oh my God. Now it's, that's going to be the game hopefully that we all want to point to and say, hey, this is one of the best games of the year right here. And Michigan State is, to be fair, Michigan State is 3-0. Now, to be fair, that's Florida Atlantic, Maryland, and Prairie View. But
See, I think that game's going to go a lot like this game.
they're 3-0.
This Oregon State game. I just don't think Michigan State has much offense, right? I mean, Childs is... I was looking at the QBRs today.
Yeah.
Because, do you know who's last in quarterback rating in college football? All of college football. FBS, there's 100 of them.
Maybe DJ? I don't know.
That's a good guess.
I mean, it's bad.
It's Tyler Van Dyke
Oh, well.
from Wisconsin.
Well, he's done.
He's done. So.
Yeah. So they don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah,
They took out his leg so that he wouldn't play anymore.
I don't think it really mattered.
Aiden Childs is near the bottom.
Oh, well, I mean, look, they're 3-0. We'll see. They got Boston College at Boston College. BC's pretty good, so we'll see where Michigan State's at. But yes, I mean, no offense to UCLA or Michigan State, but those should be road apples on the way to undefeated Oregon, undefeated Ohio State at Autzen Stadium. Let's go.
Who knew the Ducks' toughest game this year would be Idaho?
Well, Boise State was, but
Who called that? I guess so. I don't know, man. I thought the Idaho game was more in doubt at the end than Boise.
they should not have lost to Idaho. They should have lost to Boise.
That 4th and 7
Yes.
against Idaho was like pucker factor 10.
Yes, but Boise State should have beat them. Like, Boise State's going to look at that and be like, oh my God, Idaho just had a chance at the end. The fact that we're even having that conversation, though, lets you know how wonky. Like,
Yeah.
when
It's
you
all
look,
downhill
when
from
you look
here.
at the 2 weeks of the Idaho schools, thank God there's no more schools in Idaho that they can play versus the way they looked at Oregon State. Those look like two completely different football teams.
Well, they could throw Idaho State on the skid if they wanted. Well, actually, they can't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It just, can UCLA just like bow out and just forfeit, and then we bring in
I
Idaho
think
State?
the Ducks are Ducking Idaho State.
They don't want them.
They don't want the Bengals.
I think the Bengals, yeah,
Bengal
right?
Tigers.
Yeah.
Quality troll though at the end of the Civil War there. Did you hear what they played over the PA as Oregon won the game?
No, what did they?
Yeah, you turned it off.
I
Most
turned it
people
off.
turned it off.
Yeah, I was.
I
busy
was
watching
still
the Apple
watching all the way to the last whistle.
Cup. Oh, the Apple Cup was great.
Well, I mean, like the buzz of the scoreboard.
Yeah.
They played "Can't Buy Me Love."
Can't buy me love.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like Oregon's
Yeah.
making all
Like
the money,
money-
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know the lyrics to that.
good one.
Yeah.
PA guy.
I mean,
A little bit of a troll job there.
Oh, they showed them.
That's right. I think Oregon's doing fine. But
Yeah, but you can't buy the love of the Beavers.
no, probably except Oregon State, agreed to play the game for a big check. So, although there's only one more of those, and then we'll find out where that goes from there.
Yeah, just in case you don't know, "Can't Buy Me Love." It's like, what does he say? Because I don't care too much for money.
Money can't
Money
buy
can't
me
buy me.
love.
Can't buy me love.
It took me a second too. I was like, can't buy me. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Well.
I'll buy you a diamond ring
Yeah. Well,
if it makes you feel all right.
I mean, can you really troll after that? Like,
I think you can. I think you got to
can
do.
ya?
Well, at this point, the Beavs got to troll in any way they can.
Yeah.
I mean, I would.
I just think it's hard to troll. Like if I go into my Brock Lesnar defense and I can't like, as I'm laying on the ground wetting myself so he doesn't continue to beat me. As he walks away, I can't trash talk him, can I?
I think you can. Yeah.
That's a real Lamani Python. We'll call it a draw.
I think you just gotta.
It's running away.
You got to keep coming at them.
I guess.
You know.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do?
Well, as long as they don't get the ball anymore, because I think they'd score again and again.
Yeah,
and
that
again
game was
and
lame.
again. Yeah, it
Really
wasn't.
lame.
It wasn't good.
All right. Well, there's a poll question. Vote hard. It's on X at 1080 the fan. Our college football Christini begins with the Apple Cup.
Yes.
Did you guys see that? The Cougs won.
Boy, I got some questions for you, Dub. Holy jeez.
Your boy Jed Fisch.
You called the timeout to draw that up?
Thinking about Gainesville a little bit early.
Well, I mean,
God.
dude, you know, when it's in the run game to the short side of the field, you know, you can just count. It's like the biggest thing in football that people don't understand is sometimes just run game and pass protection just comes down to counting how many guys you have versus how many guys they have. It's not an ideal thing to when they have two guys outside of your end man and you have no one else to crack down. Don't run option to
You're outnumbered.
That's not good. That's terrible. That's terrible.
And running it to the boundary side where there's less space feels odd too.
What are we doing?
We'll get to that next on The Fan. Good Monday. So the Civil War was a dud. Ducks winning 49-14. But the Apple Cup was not a dud.
No, it was not. It was a good game.
Hey, I really like that Washington State quarterback. He looks like Gardner Minshew to me.
Yeah, he's not he's not a good quarterback per se. He's the guy in college football that everyone loves.
Well, he's very Washington Statey.
He's very exactly. He's very
like
Washington
Gardner
State.
Minshew.
Yeah. You know, he doesn't necessarily throw a great ball. He just runs around.
He's dual threat.
He's trucking people.
Yeah.
And
Tough kid.
He becomes like kind of a little bit of a cult hero.
I like him.
Yeah.
What is it? Mateer? Yeah. John Mateer.
Yes.
There's a name you need to know right there.
And it is he's the most Washington State kid that, you know, sticks around at the program, you know, doesn't transfer out, wins the job, and, you know, and leads them to a big Apple Cup win. And look, dude, people are getting so over their skis at Washington State. It's not a great team, but it's a great story. And Dickert loves those guys up there, and I feel so good for him. But now we're getting like the Washington State undefeated. Washington State, again, probably should have lost this game. They're going to be in a lot of games, but we need to slow the roll at this undefeated thing. But it's a great story right now, 3-0, and he is the definition of scrappy, like not the most talented kid that just plays his ass off. Bad pick, probably should have had another one. That's a big play that gets called back. I didn't think there was enough there to overturn that pick, but it was a difference in that game. And then Washington kind of s the bet at the end, and Washington State made a great goal line stand, and that'll go down as one of the great finishes in Apple Cup history. I mean, fourth and goal from the 1.5, and you get that stop there. I mean, that's stuff a legend.
Yeah, your golden boy, Jed Fisch, kind of effed it up. Had to answer a bunch of questions today.
Well, I mean, first off, let's go with 16 penalties. Oh my God, Washington. Like,
yeah.
Oh, Lordy.
Not very disciplined, were they?
No. And
135 yards.
Yeah, and then they kept doing the stupid quarterback shuffle thing, which I guess. I'm not sure why.
Why do they do that? I think Will Rogers is pretty damn good.
Yeah, he was great. He was moving the ball. When you look at stats, like if I told you that just the stat total there, I mean, Washington won the turnover battle, won most statistical categories. They just they couldn't get the ball into the end zone in the red zone, kept shooting themselves in the foot, and were just really kind of sloppy and undisciplined.
Well, why does Fish call an option?
Don't know.
So fourth and, if you didn't see, 4th and 1, 4th and goal at the 1.
Yep.
Game on the line. This is it. One play.
Short side of the after a timeout, by the way.
And he runs on the short side of the field. He runs a quarterback option, and his quarterback doesn't run.
No. And here's the thing: if you're running speed option, right, and you've got your 4. And then technically, if you want to option the guy, then I guess you could run it into 5 men, right? You have your 4 blockers, and then you're going to option the guy on the end. I get it. I don't love that look, especially the short side of the field. By the way, you have a big bruising running back that's averaging like 5 yards a carry. But all right, let's say
what's that guy, like 250?
Yeah, like say you're even going to try to run that, but anytime you're running the option there, the key to the option is being able to seal the end man on the line of scrimmage, right? Because how does an option die? By stringing it out, right? Anytime you can string out an option play to where you make the quarterback keep it, the running back runs out of room. Already running into the short side of the field, you've already handicapped yourself. So they come out in like they come out where the tight end's the last guy on the line of scrimmage. There's no crack blocker. So basically, you have no guy to block down, pin, if you will, and seal the edge. You've got the defensive end for Washington State is lined up outside of your tight end. So already that tight end is going to have a mother bear sealing that edge. And then there's another guy outside of him. I could not draw up a worse look to run option with a non-running quarterback and a big bruising running back. If you said draw up your worst case scenario for a defense to run that into, you did that. You ran that out of a tight end or out of a timeout. You didn't motion anyone over to that formation to try to get a crackdown, to try to get a seal. You didn't audible into just like a straight power or a duo play. Where
Roger, can I pause you there?
Yeah.
Rogers, after the game, said that he did not have the option to check out of that.
Well, then that's on Jed Fisch then too. That's not trusting your quarterback, because when you go back and look at that play, there is a gap between the tackle and the tight end of like 1.5 yards to 2 yards. You could have just, even if you told Will Rogers, hey, screw the option, you're going to take the ball and you're running quarterback dive right there, that's a touchdown. But they ran that thing to the outside. Like, it's beyond puzzling to me. And then you had the crappy penalties at the end. You could have forced them at least to do something uncomfortable and have to punt. Had you not burned a timeout, you could have gotten the ball back. But then you run the jackass undisciplined penalties that seal the game. I mean, it was a quagmire of disaster for Washington at the end of that game.
Help me with the fact that Rodgers is not given autonomy, because it's one thing if he's a freshman.
He's like a 6-year quarterback.
Dude, he played all 4 years at Mississippi State, did he not?
Yeah,
he's his 5th year.
He's a 5th or a 6th-year guy.
Why does the coach not allow him to
I don't know. I just, other than it's a new system and maybe he just doesn't trust him in that check to check in the run game. But I mean,
that's really bad, dude.
If I'm a center and I line up at that, and I guess as a center in those run plays, you're not really making calls. So I mean, maybe that's a moot point. But I'll just say, if I was on the right side of the line of scrimmage and I looked up, boy, I guarantee you that every one of those old linemen from UW, from the center down to the tight end, looked at that formation and went, "Oh my God, this isn't." This isn't good. And look, again, give credit to Washington State for stringing that thing out, but that thing was doomed from the get-go.
That's how to be your own worst enemy, right there.
Well, that again, 16 penalties.
Again, how to be your own
worst enemy. Yeah, it's and then afterwards, I didn't see that. For him to come out and say that he didn't have the authority to check out, and this is the other thing. If you're Washington, that's kind of an FU from the coach to the player and one back from the player to the coach, right? To come out and say, I don't know what you want from me. Like, I didn't have the option to check out of that. If you're Will Rogers, that's kind of a dig at Jed Fisch. And I did see Jed Fisch say it was about execution.
Wasn't Rogers went there to play for DeBoer, right? And then Fisch convinced him to stay.
I think that was
because I think that
was the case.
I want to say we all thought Rogers was out of there after DeBoer was.
Yes,
but
and
he
then
stayed.
They stuck around. Yeah,
maybe there's some friction there.
Well, and he's playing the freshman in there, but I mean,
Jed Fisch
to say, and this is the part that bothered me when Fisch said it's about execution. Okay, I understand that, but if I'm putting my tight end and tackle in the worst situation, like that's like saying, hey, you're gonna go fight this guy, but you're gonna have to do it with one hand tied behind your back, and by the way, I don't know, like I'm gonna cut your foot off, and then you lose that fight, and you're like, you know what, you just didn't execute. Like, that's a really, really poor job of putting them in an appropriate situation. And when you have timeouts, I mean, I just, to have that play coming out of a timeout, I would love, and again, I'm trying to be fair, I would love to sit in a meeting when they're watching tape, because I always say this, I'm not in meetings, I'm not in the film session, I don't know what the coaches are thinking, but I would love to sit down with Coach Fisch and their offensive coordinator and just watch that film and say, what was the plan here? And if they were being honest, they would look at that and they would say, that's on us. We can't have that play. But then again, to have the dumb penalties that seal the game for you afterwards, I mean, that goes back to the penalties and the undisciplined nature. So, and maybe this is a year for UW where it's just like, hey, win 7-8 games and try to build, the program. And we weren't expected to do anything anyways, but that's a killer for that school. And for Washington State, good for you, because that's kick ass. I don't know where this season goes. This isn't a playoff team. I think that talk is foolish, but Washington State hopefully ends up finishing this thing off with a kick ass year, goes to a cool bowl game, and they will have that trophy. And by the way, Dickert said they ain't giving that thing back. He said, we'll get a new trophy. That one's ours. He said, we're keeping that up in Pullman, did you hear him after the game?
No.
Yeah.
You know what? I was going to play that in Stock Watch, but I got something else, so we can listen to that right now.
Yeah, this is him after the game, and it just, I love this. This is college football, what it should be.
Right, to bring that trophy back to Pullman. It's going to be in the third floor at the CFC if anybody wants to come out and see it. I think we might retire this trophy. I think this is a Pac-12 trophy. I think that might stay in our place for a long time, and we'll bring a new one next year. A little Big Ten, Pac-12. We'll put the new score on it. So we might retire this one as a Pac-12 trophy and stay in Pullman.
All right.
And he was almost in tears on the field afterwards, and he said that they were going to win this game because they loved each other, not because they hated the other guys. Like I said, I really, really, I want to root for Oregon State. I want to root for Washington State because of what happened to them. And I know it didn't go well for the Beavs, so I'm glad that the Cougs were able to get one on the Huskies, and that was a really cool moment.
All right, we have our first quarterback benched in the NFL. We'll get to that next on The Fan.
Seahawks football.
A lot of Jed Fisch hate coming in already. That was to be expected.
Oh yeah, you hear like I had 1 year at Arizona, and
Well, he did.
yeah. Look, all I'm saying
Well, he
is,
had 3. 1 good year.
yeah, Washington was not going to be good this year. The cupboard got stripped, a la Oregon State. So give him some time. I just didn't. So far through a couple weeks, it's really sloppy, undisciplined, and I hated the call at the end and then the lack of accountability. But look, I don't remember who the receiver was, but they got him down there on the 4th and 1. Dude, if that kid just reaches for the end zone, this is a moot point. Like, he had a touchdown and he just stopped.
Ifs and buts.
I mean, what are they? Boy,
And you
I
say give him some.
I questioned some hard on that one.
Give him some time. Like, that's the problem. Is Jed Fisch doesn't even give himself time.
That
He's
Florida-
been, dude.
Florida
I just
job's gonna be
counted it up.
open.
He has been at 11 jobs in 16 years.
Yeah, it's a lot.
He will not be at Washington, maybe even after this year.
Well, the Florida job's going to be open in about 8 minutes.
Yeah, somebody else said it's the Vancouver for text line. People are already killing him. He's talking to Florida. What do you want? He did the same S against USC last year when he was at Arizona.
Yeah, so-
Another one says, he's the definition of a used car salesman. He'll be on to his next destination sooner rather than later. There's a reason he never sticks around anywhere.
So-
That's right.
So we'll see. It's that's a rough one. Dog fan has every right to be upset
Oh.
at that game.
And he lost to Jimmy Lake. Is that right?
He lost to Jimmy Lake
At Arizona? When he was at Arizona?
Yeah, that may have been when he first got there.
Who loses to Jimmy Lake?
Apparently, Jed Fisch in the visor.
Oh, my God. I was looking at the odds on the Gators' next coach. Fish is not in the top 4.
Yeah.
Because what's his nuts is going to get turfed.
Oh yeah, dude.
Lane train towards the top.
Well,
Or Kiffin.
the rumor is that Florida's Board of Regents already got together and pooled the money. So
Yeah, he's out of there.
Napier could happen any day.
Yeah,
So,
Billy Napier. That's right.
He gone.
Yeah, so the odds-on favorite is Jamie Chadwell from Liberty.
Okay.
Liberty Bibberty.
Hmm.
You saw his team last year in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yep.
The Ducks.
Yep.
They went 13-1, and then he's a good coach, but he's only been there. I think that was his first year there. I'm not mistaken. He's 4-1. Lane Kiffin is 5-1. Coach Prime is 6-1, and then Eli Drinkwitz from Missouri is 7-1.
Do you believe?
Well,
Which that would be a good hire.
yeah, I would.
Actually, any of those besides Prime would be a good hire.
Yeah, but I would load up the truck for old Eli or Lane. If Lane wants that job, give Lane the job.
Yeah, you know that he's their number 1 call.
You should. You know,
And you could probably get him because he bounces everywhere, too.
Yeah.
That guy never... I mean, he stays places longer, but he's been at a million... I feel like he's... What is he? Is he 50 yet?
He was at well, I mean, to be fair for head coaches, he was at Tennessee and then he bolted for USC and then he got canned at USC.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's not really fair because he was at crappy Florida Atlantic. And of
Or
course
the
his-
Raiders fit in there.
Well, he got fired from
He got
there.
fired.
He got fired from there.
So
So he's only left really he's only left one job, the Tennessee job for USC. And I get it. I mean, he was like, hey, this is my dream job as a special place. You can't fault someone for leaving
Well,
Florida
no.
Atlantic.
He left Florida Atlantic.
Well, that doesn't count.
Why not?
That's like if
He
you
left 2 jobs.
That's like if you got fired by the Fan
what?
and then you got hired in like, I don't know, Sioux City, Iowa.
Yeah.
And then a year later, I don't know, like
Chicago comes knocking on the
Chicago
door.
came calling and you were like, you know what?
well, I
He
still,
left Sioux City just like he left the Fan.
You can't fault Lane for that.
I still left. Still left. Sioux City, I left him
Fish,
high and
you
dry.
can be critical of, like, who is the Arizona State guy, the cowboy boots douche? Todd Graham. Like, you can be critical of that.
This
You
is
can't-
America.
You can't,
We're about winning
you
championships.
can't be critical of Lane leaving Florida Atlantic.
Well, I would not be critical of Lane if he left Ole Miss for Florida. But at the same time, I think it's an interesting question now. He's got it cooking at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Would he even take the Florida job?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in this day and age, I really don't know if Florida is a better job than Ole Miss. See, well, we think Florida was a great job because Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer.
History, tradition, resources, but
But this is the thing is they didn't have any of those until Steve. And when Steve left, none of that stuff mattered until Urban got there. And once Urban left, none of that mattered. I just think in this day and age, with the exception of maybe 4 or 5 programs, and Florida is not one of them, as long as you get the right guy, you can build it there.
yeah, it doesn't seem like it's necessary. Like, it's easier to win a title in Gainesville right now than it is in Oxford. It seems like it's apples to apples.
Oh, yeah.
So
Same.
so why go build something new when you've kind of gone?
Well, probably money would be the only.
Well,
Sure.
that's the thing. And does Ole Miss have the coffers that Florida does? And does Florida, those are all things that Lane would have to decide. I just think, with the exception of like Ohio State, Bama, probably LSU, like there's just a couple jobs that are different. But Tennessee, Florida, Ole Miss, I don't know, USC. Maybe if you want to throw Oregon into that mix now because they've proven now that they can recruit and they're their own little unique thing up here. I just think if you get the right guy at any of those schools, you can get it rolling. You can win. You just don't need the infrastructure that comes from this esteemed Notre Dame program in order to win national titles. You just need the right guy. So, if Lane's the right guy, Lane's the right guy.
I would also like to point out we forgot the Alabama job. He left there.
Well, he was a coordinator, for God's sake.
He has now, let's be
He's
fair.
still left.
No,
Let's
that is
be
not
fair.
Coordinators leave.
1, 2, 3, 4. So 5
No,
jobs.
no,
He has left 3 of them, fired 2 others, and his 6th job, Ole Miss, if he leaves there, that's the 4th out of 6 he would have left if he leaves there.
Deal is in Vancouver for text line. Rob keeps leaving TV, left Comcast twice. What do you have to say about that?
Twice? What
You're
do you
the
mean?
Lane Kiffin of
I got
TV.
fired.
Well, you got fired and then we got taken off the air. You
Yeah,
left.
Neither of those are
You
mine.
left twice.
What is this? What is this?
You still left.
No, I was fired, just like Lane Kiffin was fired from the Raiders.
Cannot
And the
blame
Vols.
a guy for going
Or wait,
coordinator to head coach.
Not the Vols, USC.
You can't blame him.
He
for
bounces around a lot, and you know it. Stop making excuses for him.
I like the Lane train.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think I'm honestly.
If I was Florida, I'd
I like this version of him best.
Yeah,
The most recent iteration is his best
he's revised,
iteration.
and I think he was actually pretty good at USC kind of a mess at that time.
They were, and they were battling.
And he took over with all the sanctions and everything,
and he won there for the year. It just didn't,
He's a pretty good coach.
didn't work out so well on the tarmac. What an exciting time. Lane Kiffin is a good coach. I don't know if he's the end all, the be all, but he's a really good coach. Got Ole Miss rolling.
Well, I do think too, as the landscape has changed. One more thing about Lane Kiffin, as the landscape has changed to NIL and recruiting and all that, he's
the sort of guy.
He's suited for that.
Yes.
Like that's his bit.
Yes,
and that helps him.
I want a guy that's
Dabo.
young, energetic, relates to kids, and is willing to work. Balls to the wall. You gotta have those sort of commitment. I love the fact that Deion Sanders refuses to recruit. He just someone put him in that list for the next coach. He literally will not visit recruits at their house.
He actually has better odds to be the next coach of the Noles. As a matter of fact, he is the odds-on favorite to be the next coach of the Noles. Did you know that?
They should not do that.
You know what's interesting? That list, 3-1. Prime is 3-1.
Oh my God!
You know who's second on that list? Kiffin's third, 6-1. So they've got Kiffin on the Florida State list as well.
Yeah.
Second on that list is Matt Rule.
Oh, okay.
4-1.
Again, I love it. Matt Rule's had like 3 games, and people are like, Matt Rule.
Well, Matt Rule's had a history of winning in college.
You're talking to the president of the Matt Rule fan club over
You
there.
certainly are. Let's the Matt Rule slander will not stand.
Hey.
We need to be fair.
Hey,
Matt Rule has been a program builder.
Hey, maybe he gets it roll. Nebraska looks pretty good.
But I don't know why he would leave Nebraska to go to Florida State.
Yeah, I don't know. By the way, I don't know what Mike Norvell's buyout, but they just gave him, I believe the official term of it is a S-ton of money. I'm guessing that Mike Norvell is going nowhere. That school is trying to buy their way out of the ACC to the tune of a couple $100 million, and they're gonna buy out Mike Norvell after less than a year.
That's a weird one and probably deserving of its own segment at some point this week. But what's gone on with him is,
beware the transfer portal.
Undefeated, and now they can't win. They can't even beat Memphis at home.
In fact, they just paid Memphis $1.3 million to come beat them at home.
Beware the transfer portal. As
Norvell
Dave Bartu likes to say.
Norvell's a good coach.
$65 million buyout.
Or at least we thought. So maybe later in the week, our college football Christini will continue. Coming up, we have a new number 1 in college football. But up next, the first quarterback has been benched. That when we return on The Fan.
fan.
All right. Nice to have you along. The Stock Watch coming up next. And we'll have in the news. You know the routine. It's Monday. Switching gears to the NFL here. We had some late-breaking news today. And it is that Bryce Young has been benched.
I'm really surprised. Not because Bryce Young isn't bad. I mean, he's the worst quarterback in the NFL as far as starters go. Carolina's a bottom 3 roster, and you can't debate that. I mean, you knew that going into the season. I know you spent some money in the offseason. You went out and got a couple guards. You went and got Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. Jadeveon Clowney, which whatever. He's a decent guy when you put him amongst a better group of guys. You got rid of Brian Burns. You don't have a real number 1. In fact, I don't even know if you have a number 2 receiver. There's just I don't know where the top end talent is. Your best defensive player, he's out for the year. So it's just not a good roster, like top to bottom. Bottom 3, maybe the worst roster in the NFL when you throw your quarterback in there. You went out and got Canales, so he was brought in to try to rescue Bryce Young. You thought you had something in the preseason, and in the first 2 weeks, it's been dreadful. But unless Canales and their GM are already worried about being fired, I don't understand. By going to Andy Dalton, are you trying to win 4 games? This is not. They're under no circumstances is this anywhere near even a 7 or an 8 win team, let alone a playoff team. So unless you've just already decided that there is just zero chance, and I mean zero, that Bryce Young can ever do anything for you, or you're trying to rescue Bryce Young for himself and you think that maybe sitting for a while can calm him and maybe you can try to bring him back, although it doesn't really sound like that's what they're saying they're doing here. It sounds like they're just done with him. This is kind of confusing to me.
Well, his quarterback rating is 44.
Yeah, it's bad. It's Zach Wilson bad.
That is worse than Caleb Williams and Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Who are ranked 30th and 31st in the NFL so far.
Yeah.
So Bryce Young dead last. So there's maybe an element of it where you kind of have to bench him. He's so bad.
It's possible.
Like it's not just any old quarterback.
Yeah.
He is. You saw some of him.
Yeah, it's
really, 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 really bad.
It was that bad last year too.
And I feel like, but it's a new coach,
Yeah.
and I feel like the new coach is going, it's. Coaches don't think like, we're not going to win that many games anyway, so let's just go with them. No, their job is to win games and put their team in a position to succeed, even if they don't have great players. That's their job.
Yeah.
And I saw a thing last week that was talking about it was a gambling. It was an email that listed the point spread difference between a starting quarterback and the backup quarterback should the starter go down.
Sure.
Okay, so, and it listed every team in the NFL.
Because most guys, outside of quarterbacks, most players don't even move a line a point.
Well, a lot of these guys did.
Yes.
Lamar
Jackson, the only position.
Lamar Jackson getting hurt was like worth a touchdown.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, you know the guys.
Yep.
Now, all the way down at the bottom of that was Bryce Young and Andy Dalton. In other words, the Panthers, in the eyes of odds makers, are a better team with Andy Dalton than they are with Bryce Young, and that's exactly why the coach made the switch.
Yeah.
It's just...
I just look at it from a long-term perspective, and this is why this may be the worst organization top to bottom in sports right now. Think about over the last handful of years, right? You got rid of Christian McCaffrey, best back in the NFL. You got rid of your number 1 receiver, legitimate number 1 receiver in DJ Moore. You got rid of one of the better young pass rushers in Brian Burns. You've been the worst team for a number of years. What do you have to show for it? Like when you go through all of that, show me on this roster where any of that has benefited. You've gone through coaches. Your owner is literally in pissing matches with bar owners. This is, now that Daniel Snyder is gone, right? We're like, who's going to, whenever there's like someone leaves, the void, like who fills the void as like the biggest joke, in the NFL. I think it's the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Look, the other thing about the Bryce Young thing, and they not only took him ahead of CJ Stroud, and how foolish that looks now.
Yeah.
But they traded 2 1s and 2 2s and DJ Moore to do it.
There's just nothing. I don't know if you're the Carolina Panthers, there is nothing to point to a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's the only team you can say that about. I mean, it is just it's dreadful right now. So if you think Andy Dalton is the answer to your problems, I mean, God bless you.
Well, they don't have an answer to their problems.
Well, then I don't understand why you don't just keep seeing if maybe, just maybe, for the love of God, Bryce Young can do something. But I mean, I'm again not there every day. Maybe in practice it's even worse.
Well, or he's going to lose the team.
It's possible.
I mean, you can't just come in your first year and half the team's like, dude, why are you rolling this guy out there? He's terrible, and then lose the whole locker room.
Think how bad. Like, can we all remember how bad Zach Wilson was? Do we all remember that? Right? Zach Wilson got 20 plus games. He got, I think, 14 starts and 9 starts before they were like, okay, we can't.
Yeah,
we can't do
but
this
I would
anymore.
argue, and as bad as Zach Wilson was, I would argue he showed more flashes than Bryce Young.
Yes.
I mean, Bryce Young hasn't shown anything.
This is like this is like Josh Rosen a little bit.
Yeah.
Remember? Like he was there for like a year.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I guess we need Kyler Murray.
Instantly benched.
It's bad.
So
Really
I
bad.
was looking,
especially when the other guy, CJ Stroud, who so much for the sophomore slump. CJ Stroud is a top 4 quarterback in the NFL right now, year 2. He's doing stuff back there. He just looks he's the guy. Yeah, everyone says like he is him. He is him. And that just makes
and
you
it's
look
just so
foolish.
as good as Stroud is as bad as Young is, and Young may even be worse than that. And how they thought that was close.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's not an exact science drafting quarterbacks. I understand that.
But it makes you look
But
bad.
Jesus, man.
Yeah. It's like when you
What a
draft Greg
whiff.
Oden instead of Kevin Durant.
Well, but see, that's different. That's a stray.
All right, hey, we
He
are
got hurt.
when you have to make a choice between 2 and you pick one
Whoa.
and it ends up being an unmitigated disaster for whatever reason, dude, that will stick
Well,
to you. And
of course
Carolina, this sticks to you.
Yes, of course it sticks to you, but I think the reason does matter. And in this instance, making that trade and seeing Bryce Young is better than CJ Stroud. It's not like Bryce Young continues to get hurt.
No, he's just
he
bad.
just sucks.
I said in week 1, I've never seen it before. There was a play in week 1 where the pocket was collapsing on him and he couldn't see over the line, so he jumped. He jumped and threw a Tim Tebow, not goal line. This is like middle of the field. He jumped and tried to throw the ball over the line. Never seen it. Never seen it before in all my years of watching the NFL. And so, you know, it's just the trolls, and it's just so easy to do. Vancouver 4 text line. Any truth to the rumor that they tried to bench Bryce Young during the game, but he couldn't see over the line to see the coach benching him? When Bryce Young goes to the sidelines, does he get a booster seat? I mean, I feel bad for the kid because it just.
Yeah, you're right. It's like it's
just so easy.
It's not just a guy playing bad.
No.
It's embarrassing for him.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be like if Kyler Murray really sucked. Like the diminutive stature doesn't help him at all either, because they're like.
Yeah.
With other guys who have big arms and big frames, you can at least see what people saw there. But with like this diminutive guy, you're like, what is this?
Yeah, and I've actually heard this from several GMs talk about this. They say if you're gonna miss on the freak, because at least if you miss on the freak, you can say,
Everyone else saw
You
it.
can justify it.
Anthony Richardson, which by the way, that's. Can we stop with the love fest for Anthony Richardson? He's a bad quarterback. Right now. He's bad. Not that he can't get better, but at least if you miss on Anthony Richardson, someone can point to that and be like, he throws the ball 65 yards off his back foot. Like no one has ever been a better athlete. But when you miss on Bryce Young and he looks like an 8th grader, it makes you look that much worse, and that's what's happening
So
right
I pulled
now.
up that email. Yeah, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes are 7.5 better than Josh Johnson and Carson Wentz.
Okay.
And then it goes Josh Allen, Jordan Love, and on down. There are only 3 quarterbacks who are starters who actually are plus points to their backup. In other words, they're worse teams with their starter.
So obviously he's one.
He's the bottom one. Bryce Young was plus 1.5. So in other words, the Panthers are a 1.5 better with Andy Dalton, according to the
Daniel Jones, maybe?
odds makers. Yes, Daniel Jones is 1 point better than Drew Lock, or plus 1 to Drew Lock.
Who's the other one?
Is it Nick?
It's pretty obvious.
Is it Bo Nix?
No, he and Stidham, they've got dead even.
Not for long.
Minshew, O'Connell, dead even. Fields,
yeah.
Wilson, dead even. The one is a half point.
Who else is
It's obvious.
kicking rocks out there? I'm sure
He
it is.
sucks.
I'm just drawing a.
And his coach even called him out.
Why am I'm drawing a blank.
Will Levis.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole.
I mean, he did it again.
That's a whole thing.
He is falling down and he flips the ball. I mean, what is he doing?
I don't know. He watched. I think someone told him to watch Josh Allen film, and he's like, "You got it." But the problem is, he's watching rookie Josh Allen film. He's watching like all the bad cut-ups of bad Josh Allen. I think someone just did the old. Remember in the Brady Bunch when like they did the fake playbook. I think that's what someone did to Will Levis. Some other like nefarious coach gave him a cut-up of terrible Josh Allen. Was like, study this. Because it doesn't always look that bad, and then he just reverts back to whatever the hell that is. They've lost 2 games they have no business losing, and it's kind of because of Will Levis.
All right, Stock Watch coming up next. What we're buying and selling from the weekend in sports on 1080 The Fan. Hey, it's your window daddy. It's September. More deals to be had if you need new windows. Need an attorney. You know?
Yeah, you do. I don't think, can you just do that on your own? Can you just be like, that's it, I'm out of here?
I'm done. Bye-bye.
Well, I think some people do, right? They don't get an attorney. They just...
Yeah, and I don't think that works that often.
Seems like the poorer way to go.
I miss the olden days where you could just like move like one town over. You just like, I'm leaving, and then like you just
I think
left.
you can still do that, right?
Fortunately now with the internet and whatnot, they track you down. But back in the day, you just moved like, you didn't have to move a state. You just move a couple towns and like, hey, what happened to him? Don't know.
It was a simpler time.
It was a simpler time.
Well, we'd already been discussing the Florida situation, Billy Napier, and the things going on down in Gainesville. Something stood out to me from that game, though, and it had nothing to do with what was going on the field. Take a listen to Jesse Palmer taking shots at a Florida fan in the stands.
He's got a mustache. Can't see it now, but he's whipping his hand with his shirt. I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I'm going to say that guy's in the friend zone.
I can't. Listen, you are a top analyst. I'm just going to say, you know how to give analysis.
Years of relationship and dating. I see it up close and personal in my other job, and I think I'm going to say he's a good listener.
Bachelor Nation is in desperate need of this kind of analysis, Katie.
Don't kick a man while he's down, Jesse. Leave him alone.
No, I think he's a great guy. I didn't say he's a bad guy. I'm just saying I don't think he's dating anybody in the shot right now. I think he's...
By ourselves, that we need more analysts giving analysis on the dating games of some college kids in the stands.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I do love the courage of Jesse Palmer to comment there.
One of the most handsome men on the planet.
Well,
Yeah,
and
easy for you to say, Jesse.
He's right that Jesse Palmer uniquely equipped to criticize or to analyze that.
Yes.
You know, because he is, well, I'm sure he's cut through a wide swath, but also he was on The Bachelor, right? Wasn't he The Bachelor?
He was The Bachelor.
He
And
hosts The Bachelor.
He hosts The Bachelor now, so he sees, you know, that's a man who knows.
Yeah.
A man in the friend zone.
Although to be fair, like I went and looked at the clip.
Yeah, I haven't seen the clip.
First off, my man's wearing he's wearing Florida overall striped with no shirt underneath.
And he's got the mustache going.
He's got the mustache. I'm telling you, in SEC country, that guy's doing fine.
I think so, too.
You know, he's not, like, when I first heard this clip, I was like, oh boy. I thought we were going to see, like, I thought we were going to see Jethro. Dude, the dude's growing an ironic mustache. You go to any...
He's got a drunk frat kid out there.
I was at the Farewell Fest down in Bend like a month or two ago. Dude, I saw like 1,000 kids that looked just like this dude, shirtless, that shouldn't have been shirtless, with bad mustaches, and they all had ladies. This guy's doing fine. Yeah, I mean, Palmer's he's a little sensy with the whole Florida thing, but that kid's doing fine.
Yeah, I think I'm with Palmer. I'm watching it now. Yeah, that guy's not getting any tut. At least in that photo, he's right.
He's doing fine.
I'm sure there's something out there for him, but that wasn't the point. The point was he's saying he's friend zoned with all of those girls around him, and I think that's exactly right.
I do like the analysis, and yes, we need more.
And by the way, there are like 5 girls surrounding him.
Yeah.
Well, let's move over to the NFL, where Malik Willis got the start for Jordan Love, who was injured. There was a play, a 3rd and long, in which he never threw the football. His head coach had this to say after the game.
I asked Malik why he didn't throw the ball on that 3rd down, and he told me that Josh threw up on the ball. I was like, that's the first time I've ever heard that. Matter of fact, the official came over to me, Sean came over to me and said, we saw your center thrown up on the ball. Do you want us to take him out next time? I said, absolutely. Please do that, because, you're talking about a critical situation, and it's 3rd down, and I've never had a throw with vomit on a football. So I don't know. I don't think Malik probably didn't appreciate that.
God. Did you ever throw up on the ball?
No.
I was going to ask.
I've heard it happen.
My question is, buy or sell the most unique circumstances for not throwing a football in a game?
No, that's...
Well, Suk would be qualified to.
That's pretty high up there.
Answer this.
I've heard. There have been clips you've seen of O linemen throwing up, and it's happened with the center puking. I've never heard a quarterback say that he didn't throw the ball because of it. But if you've got a ball that's slick with yak, I understand why you don't let it loose.
Other reasons?
Boy, I'm trying to think of one. I don't know. I've seen a quarterback take a sack because he was going to soil himself. I've seen that one before where he felt the diarrhea and he didn't feel like he could run. So he just he folded.
Well, what does that have to do with the football?
Well, no, but you said reasons to not
throw the ball.
Not to throw a ball. This was a reason to not extend a play.
Oh.
He thought he was going to,
Yeah, I was thinking more like what could get on the ball out there. I mean, obviously.
That's probably the only.
Snot and puke and.
Yeah, that's the only.
Pee and.
That's the only.
Yeah.
That's the only. Well, I mean the
mud.
I have had it before because and I'm not the only one. A lot of linemen do. In really hot weather, I would just pee myself. And like I mean, on a hot day down in Florida, I'd pee myself, 9-10 times a game. And I know some of the quarterbacks that was troublesome because their hands are under there. But what are you gonna do? But that was no reason to not throw a football. That's probably number one. Puke on the ball, you will probably never have another situation where it said, why didn't you throw it, and come up with a weirder explanation than that.
Despite it being football season, couple baseball buy and sells for you.
There you go.
The first one comes to us from San Francisco. This is Elliot Ramos.
Throw down around the knees, you're going to get some serious tilt.
Down the line. Hit well. It is out of here.
Did he do it?
And this game is tied. And now we want to find out if that went into the water.
Because if it did, there's never been a right-handed hitter that has done it since this ballpark opened its doors in 2000.
So Elliot Ramos with a unique feat at San Francisco's Oracle Park this weekend. The first right-handed batter to hit a home run on the fly out to right field. So it's been over 2,000 games at that park. No Giant, nor any Giants opponent.
Will hit it into the water.
Has hit it on the fly into the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buy or sell, that makes it the most impressive home run of the season.
Boy, I hadn't thought about that, but.
Well, what's the other?
Yeah,
what are other candidates?
I mean,
I don't know, absolute launch
Aaron
jobs
Judge
or
Grand Slam the other day was pretty.
That
good.
was pretty epic.
Soto
yeah.
hit one. I thought Soto may have had the longest one this year. I don't remember what ballpark it was, but he damn near hit it out of it. I mean, off the top of my head, if that's true and that's unique like that, then yeah, I'd say that's the most impressive home run.
Well, I can't think of another one.
No.
Well, then let me try this one on you because this is Randy Arozarena, and I have seen hitters do this for one pitch before. I have not seen this entire sequence play out like this. If you missed this in the Mariners game, this was wild.
That'll bring up Randy Arozarena. There he is stepping out. Before the pitch got to the plate, then the pitch was outside, ball one. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Steps out again, and it's ball two. New to me, Rick. Help me out. You got anything?
At first, we've talked about it before. I don't know why he doesn't, but he's got to be very confident with one strike or two.
There's the 2-0. Stepped out again, ball three.
Wow, 3 in a row. That's a first.
I hear
We've
you.
never seen him do that 3 pitches in a row.
Well, maybe he's looking for a cookie right here, 3-0. Hope he mashes it. Let's see. 3-0. He looks loaded there. Here's the pitch. And there it goes! Oh, baby! Left field! Facing in the upper deck! Randy Arozarena! He got what he wanted, a 3-0 cookie, and the Mariners lead 5-0. Wow!
Sometimes a hitter sets up a pitcher. And I think that was a classic example right there. He steps out, ball one. He steps out again, ball two. He steps out again, ball three. I'm swinging. And Garabito comes in with a strike, and he just mashed it off the facing of the upper deck in left field. Holy smokes, what a shot by Randy Arozarena.
Randy baited the trap, and Garabito took it hook, line, and sinker. And goodbye. Goodness gracious, that was amazing.
You're telling me he did that on purpose?
Watch the clip. The Mariners have posted it. I don't understand it. This is buy or sell the most unique home run you've ever seen. The way that he's stepping out of the box dismissive as if he had wanted time to be called. 3 pitches in a row. I don't know if he's daring the guy to throw a strike. I don't know if he's trying to get in his head.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like this.
There's no way he baited him.
It's I don't think you can throw a strike and then it's 3-0. He picks one spot, one location.
Yeah,
he's
boy,
see you later.
I am watching this right now. That guy, I did not see this over this weekend. I only watched football, and I said I was out of the country. I'm kind of blown away right now.
I was too. I've never seen anything like it.
I've never seen anyone do that twice, let alone 3 pitches in a row.
I've seen a guy do it when they're like, when a new pitcher comes in and he's like throwing 2 balls and they step out for the third or something like that. Like just as almost like showing bunt to get in his head, but I've never seen anyone try to do this for an entire at bat.
Yeah, I mean, he threw 92 right at the knees. I mean,
see, that to me is on the pitcher. I mean, that pitch,
for sure. You can't throw a cookie.
That's a meatball.
Yeah, you throw a cookie there because you think he's stepping out. What do you think he's? I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can guarantee that he's stepping out on that 4th pitch. He's probably taking, but when you put one right there, he's going to step in and mash it.
Gosh, I don't know if he did that. If he actually set that up, that is one of the more amazing things that I've ever seen.
I think we should see more of this.
I don't think that's a good strategy.
It seemed like borderline disrespectful, like dunking on somebody or like baiting a basketball defender so you can cross him over or something.
What? Wow. Holy cow. Yeah, that I am legitimately stunned.
That's good stuff.
That is good stuff.
Hey, 2 weeks left in the baseball season.
4.5 back of the Astros, and I think 2.5 back of the Tigers, if I'm not mistaken.
Careful.
Think they make it?
Who, the Mariners?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I don't.
No.
Stockwatch brought to you by Goldberg Jones. When it comes to divorce, custody, or child support issues, trust Goldberg Jones to help. Call 1-800-DIVORCE. Phone questions answered at no charge. In the news is coming up next. What is with all the school threats? That's next. Here's Buck. All right, back to super hot, cool football talk coming up here on our show. After all, it is Monday. But right now, it is September 16, 2024. It is time for In the News. I'm your noted newsman. Hello. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, all of you. Well, maybe not all of you, but some of you. Most of you. It's brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys at advocateslaw.com. Today is National Stay Away from Seattle Day.
I did not. Went right through the teeth of it today.
What a bad day to go through Seattle.
No traffic, though. Breezed right through it.
And it is National Guacamole Day.
Oh, I had guacamole this weekend. It's not today. Had it yesterday. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of mid. It was a mid guac.
That can happen.
But I do like it.
Was it at a restaurant?
Yeah, it was at a little bar. It was fine. Good chips. Guac, it was okay.
Well, if you're at just a bar, should you expect good guac?
No, absolutely not. But, you know, you mix it in with some salsa. And again, nice warm chips. Warm chips is a game changer. If you know that you've got mid guac and salsa, heat up the chips. It's going to mask it a little bit.
Yeah, we'll forget about the
Yeah,
guac.
yeah.
Well, if you're heading from Vancouver to... Oh, wait, sorry. From Portland to Vancouver tonight.
Which
don't.
I am. I can't help it. How am I
What?
supposed to get home?
Well, no, you're fine. This is after 11.
Oh. Whew.
So if you need between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. tonight and tomorrow morning, if you need to get from Portland to Vancouver,
You're screwed.
you are not going to be crossing the interstate bridge.
Damn it.
They are closing it for maintenance.
I saw they were, today when I drove across it, there were some work crews, and boy, I'll tell you what, that was some sketchy looking stuff out there. Like they have.
What do you mean?
Well, like they were working. I don't know, like you described it, but it's like a foot down from where the bridge is, and they have little kind of like walkways in between the pillars. It just seems like a very precarious place to be working. And they had the hard hat boys down there, and they were doing some stuff. And I thought to myself, because I was sitting in traffic, not moving on the bridge because of the wreck. And I looked over there, and I had that thought of, no, I don't want to be doing that.
Yeah, that's one of those things where they'll say maintenance work, and I mean,
I don't know what they were doing.
I have no clue what they're doing. Even if I see them doing it, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so I just trust that they're doing it right.
Well, I didn't know that they were down there, but it looked like, and I'm assuming this is like the rooms that like move the bridge up and down. But like there were little doors like underneath the bridge that they were going in and out of and doing stuff. I don't know.
Wild scene.
But it was like, because you're never, when you're on the bridge, you're just going over it. But now I had the nice long prolonged like looking at them. And I was trying to figure out what they were doing, and I've come to the conclusion they were doing a good job.
They were preparing for maintenance. Oh, were they?
Yeah. With all of my bridge engineering knowledge that I've accrued over the years, let me tell you, thought they were doing a good job. Way to go, boys.
I wonder, do those guys get to pick the color of their hard hats?
These were orange, if I remember correctly.
Orange?
I think they were orange hard hats.
Because sometimes you can get the yellow ones and the white
yellow
ones.
ones, the whites. Yeah, I think these were the oranges, if I'm not mistaken. And then they had the bright color vests, and down there getting it done. And I don't want to be down there. Like I said, looked a little sketchy.
A minor was arrested after several threats against Longview Public Schools were posted online last week.
For God's sakes, can we stop threatening and stop shooting things?
Well, we've got a lot of school threats here recently.
Yeah.
We had another in Eugene. This one was a middle school down there.
Yeah.
Today they were out of school because of that.
Well, I mean, we're threatening schools. We're threatening political candidates. Can we just stop shooting everybody? Knock it off.
Oh, we had the Sweet Home one. Wasn't it Sweet Home?
That was it. Yeah. I don't like it. It's no good.
We had another one too. Oh, Mountain View.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Although that turned out not to be a school shooting. That turned out to just be two dudes that didn't like each other that happened to be outside of the school. Is it sad when we're like, oh, that's not so bad?
There was beef.
There was beef. You can't have beef. Not when there's guns involved.
Well, stop threatening schools, okay?
Yeah, it's like breakdance fight or something. Come up
Right.
with a more sensible way. I don't know, like
Right.
rock, paper, scissors, or Pokemon. I don't know. Do something besides shoot each other.
Well, guys, the October 9th Jane's Addiction show at Memorial Coliseum has been canceled,
Damn it.
as has the rest of that tour.
I watched The Reason Why on Twitter.
Yeah, it's
all over the place.
It's a whole thing. So I don't know if you saw this, but Perry Farrell,
the lead singer of Jane's Addiction,
who is 65 years old and looks just terrible.
Can I ask you a
question? And mainly,
though?
and it's not drug. I mean, well, it's probably drugs, but he looks terrible because of just too much plastic surgery. He looks very weird.
Yeah. Although to be fair, I think he's kind of always.
Yeah, no, he's strange duck.
Yeah, he's a weird dude.
But they've got a little Van Halen with David Lee Roth thing going on.
Oh yeah.
Where, from what I understand, because they haven't played in 13 years together or something like that, so they go out on this tour, and that's a pretty badass band. I'm sorry, Jane's Addiction is good.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and Dave Navarro is criminally underrated.
Great guitar player.
And by all accounts, it sounds like, because they've been playing some shows, it sounds like the band sounds great. But Perry Farrell is a mess.
Didn't he take a swing at him?
It's a bit like David Lee Roth and Van Halen. So so this show was in Boston, and there's a lot of reasons going around about why. But basically, the bottom line is that Perry Farrell is all messed up and on drugs and having mental health problems. And the band came out and canceled the rest of the tour today and said he needs to go get help because he confronted Dave during the show. Like they're fighting during the show. He took a swing at him.
There's like a song going on, and he kind of like bounces over to him and like bumps him while he's playing, and then
Dave
starts like putting his hands up and like yelling at him, and then Farrell like tries to take a swing, and before you know it, you got like a stagehand on there trying to help out.
Yeah, he can't.
And the show ended. They roll Farrell out of there. The band walks off the stage, and that's the end of Jane's Addiction. And it might be the last time we ever see them.
How very Axl Rose of him.
Very much so.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and then his wife was on there saying a bunch of stuff about why, but who cares why? Just freaking
don't punch your band member.
Yeah, just get your
together. You think that for the sake of gobs of money that you could hold it together for like 2 hours a night, but turns out.
Well, it sounds like he's on a lot of drugs.
Well, the Eagles had this, right? Remember when Don Fry was trying to kill
Glenn Fry?
Yeah, Glenn Fry, and he was going after Felder. Like it happens.
Yeah.
I think he waited at least until they were off the stage before he tried to kill him.
They definitely hated each other, but
they were smart enough to know to, keep it going for a bit.
What if Navarro does a spin-off act called Perry's Addiction?
Oh, that's fantastic.
I don't think you got to find someone to sing.
Yeah,
that's the problem is that in these bands, the lead singer, with the exception of a handful of bands, the lead singer really kind of have a lot of pull, especially when
his voice is very unique.
Well, especially when it's your band. Like you can't kick Axl Rose out of Guns N' Roses. Like Metallica can't kick James Hetfield out of the band. It's his band.
Maybe when Noel and Liam get in a fight and their tour gets canceled, Jane's Addiction can go get Noel.
Just maybe do like a swap sort of
Noah.
thing.
Is it Noah?
Noel
Gallagher and Liam Gallagher. Yeah, they can
just
go get
trade,
Noel.
right?
Yeah.
The Gallagher brothers hate each other, so give one of them to Jane's Addiction and let Perry Farrell go and take a swing at the other brother.
I do feel like Liam Gallagher and Perry Farrell are perfect for each other.
Yeah, they can just be weird and pissed off at one another, and away you go. The worst one, though, is still, David Lee Roth. That may be the king of all. Like, no one can get along with him, and I mean nobody.
Well, he's crazy.
He is crazy.
And I think that we're finding out that Perry Farrell is too.
Remember when saw Van Halen like on the farewell tour and Dave spent like 20 minutes talking about how he moved to Japan?
Yeah.
Well, it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen at a show.
Well, I don't know if you've read up on what was happening at the Jane's Addiction shows. It was the same stuff. It was Perry Farrell up there spitting about crap that like the whole band. At one point they said that Dave Perry Farrell was going off about something stupid, much like David Lee Roth was at the show we went and saw. And nobody cares, and it's just rambling, and it's like, what are you even talking about? There was at one point where Dave played a couple notes, like loud, to get him to shut up.
So they're playing someone off the stage at the awards show?
Yeah, so they're saying that this has been building for a long time, where they just are done with Perry, and he finally snapped, and and they say hopefully he gets the help he needs. But if you had tickets to the Jane's Addiction show on October 9th at the Memorial Coliseum, you are not going.
It's a bummer, because I'm sure there's a lot of diehard fans that were excited, and no. Go see a cover band.
All right, up next, Portland continues to kick ass in the bad traffic department.
All
right. This is in the news on The Fan.
This is The Fan's Window into Sports, a view into today's top stories, brought to you by Window Nation, online at windownation.com.
Here we go.
touchdown to win.
Addiction's best, because that Ben caught stealing is a jam.
I think this is by far their most famous.
It's their most popular song.
Yeah,
but it's also a jam. I mean, come on.
I've always really liked Jane Says. That's been on the top of my list. Also, though, you have to remember that song "Superhero" was the opening credits for Entourage forever.
Oh yeah.
Can you play that?
Kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, I can. Hold on.
I don't remember that song. Jane's Addiction. Apparently there's some addiction issues.
See what you did there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They're rolling up in their like suicide door sports car. Vinny and the boys cruising down Sunset or Hollywood Boulevard.
It's a good band.
Not anymore.
Sorry, Jane, whoever you are. All right, this is In the News, September 16, 2024. Hello. Thank you. Newsman here. Thank you. No, please, thank you. Big night in the sky Tuesday.
What do we got on Tuesday?
We have a harvest moon.
Oh, that's a big night.
Cue your boy, what's his nuts? Who's
Neil
the guy?
Young?
Neil Young, Harvest
Yes.
Moon.
If you meet
Your
him
dear friend.
If you meet him in an airport, be prepared. You're gonna sit down and have a conversation with him. He smells exactly like you think he would smell.
The harvest moon, or closest full moon to the autumnal equinox.
Is that what that is?
Did I get that right?
I don't know.
Will also be a supermoon, appearing larger and brighter in the night sky. And if that wasn't enough, there will also be a partial lunar eclipse.
All right. Well, that's kind of cool.
All tomorrow night.
So, Breakout Harvest Moon, which is a great album by the great Neil Young.
That's a good song, too.
Well, it's a great song. It's one of his, in my opinion, one of his best albums. So, sit down and listen to some Neil Young and check out the moon.
The lunar eclipse will begin when the moon enters the Earth's partial shadow at 8:41 Eastern Time. So that would be 5:41 here.
Yeah, we're going to miss that because of this,
We'll be on the air.
Yeah.
It will be difficult to notice until the top edge of the moon begins entering the full shadow at 10:13 p.m. Eastern Time. Things are looking up for you. That's 7:13, Jace.
It's kind of
on your way home.
Yeah. Well, it seems a little weird that like it's before 6 and I'm dealing with, stuff. You gotta. Come on, celestial bodies. Some of us gotta work for God's sakes.
I'm guessing that we will see none of this because it's supposed to rain tomorrow and be cloudy.
So we got nothing. We got bupkis.
The supermoon is, supposed to be pretty badass.
Yeah.
Where it's like 30% brighter.
Yeah.
And about 17% bigger than normal.
Well,
kind of cool.
Go supermoon then. And that's something that's nice that I don't have to go, it's always these ones where I have to look at a certain point in the sky and it's got to be like 3 a.m. I'm not dealing with any of that. It's kind of cool that, I don't know, it's regular time of night. I look up and there it is.
Yeah, if you happen to see the moon and you go, wow, that's really big.
Yeah. Supermoon.
It's a supermoon.
Kick ass.
Well, Portland continues to drive poorly.
That's what we do. I saw it today. Traffic was awful. And it wasn't bad, except for that one jackass that caused the wreck.
Well, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
You piece of garbage!
Portland ranks as the 7th worst city for traffic in the United States. You remember pre-COVID when we were always really bad? And then COVID happened, and then we weren't bad?
I've said it
We're
before.
back to being bad.
I'm not saying COVID was great. I'm just saying there was good components of it. And traffic and parking, amazing.
I loved COVID.
It was the best part about COVID. Hands down. It's incredible. And now traffic is fully back, and it sucks. Even at 7 o'clock when we get off the air, I encounter traffic going over the bridge like 4 out of the 5 days.
So this is from Consumer Affairs, their Journal of Consumer Research. They have compiled data from 49 major U.S. cities focusing on congestion, longest travel times, and most fatal crashes. And according to the results, Portland's average commute time is below the national average at 25 minutes, but our city's average daily congestion time was bad enough to push Portland into the top 10 worst cities for traffic.
Number one, what? Like L.A., D.C., New York, I'm guessing? Right?
L.A. is number 1.
Yeah.
Washington, D.C. is number 2.
You ever driven in D.C.? Dude, that is an S show.
Seattle is number 3.
Yeah.
San Francisco 4, New York 5.
Okay.
Denver 6, and Portland 7. How about Denver?
Yeah. Well, I think us and Denver, a little sneaky,
yeah, because we're not that big.
No.
What's up with that?
No, you would think that there would be others, but, because you think of the standard ones that you listed, everyone knows those suck. That goes without question.
Seattle's fatal crash rate is nearly half as bad as Portland's, but its average commute time and hours of congestion were enough to rank it number 3.
Well, trying to drive through the city of Seattle during busy times
is rough.
It's nightmare fuel.
It kind of can't be done. I mean, it can't be done efficiently.
It is just an absolute slog. We just don't have any room to grow. That and we have no political will to actually improve our infrastructure. So good luck. It ain't getting any better.
There's your In the News for September 16, 2024, brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys at advocateslaw.com. Up next is the Hot 5 at 5, but you already knew that. Or maybe you didn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you're new to the show.
Now you're figuring it out.
Guess what? We got this thing called the Hot 5 at 5.
It's a dadgum mistake.
No one's ever done it in the history of sports radio.
Pretty
as far
unique.
As you know.
5 p.m., we give you the top 5 sports stories.
Now, people may have done the 4 at 4, the 3 at 3, but 5 at 5, never been done.
You know, quite honestly, it's Jeff Baton Rouge. It's his finest
It's his
contribution to the fan.
It's his Mona Lisa, if you will.
And we will paint it next on the Fan.
Hey, it's Dusty. Victorico's Breakfast Tacos
Welcome back. Hope you're having a nice little Monday. It's your Sports Bros, Rop and Sook. I'm Rop. And that's Big Sook right over there.
Right here.
Dude. Ryan Buckley is here.
They're eating the cats.
He is a short timer this week as he is going to beautiful Sun River.
That's right.
For a stay and play with his buddies.
Yeah.
He does that every year at this time.
Must be nice.
Usually not on the bye week, but this year on the bye week.
It's going to be nice. Yeah, the weather's going to be great. The weather's great out there today.
Yeah, it's nice.
I think it's the best golf deal in Oregon. You go for 2 nights, and it's all you can golf for 2 nights lodging at the Sun River Resort.
Wait, you just pay for the lodging?
Yep.
And you get free golf as much as you want?
Yep.
Wow.
So, and it's like $200 a night to stay at their lodge. They do it during shoulder season, so it's always like fall or spring. And then it's unlimited golf at their courses. So we have 5 rounds over 3 days, staying 2 nights, and all that golf is free.
Can you imagine how drunk Buckley's going to get?
That's the question. When you go to play unlimited golf, Buck, how much golf gets played sober? Are you one of those that's like, I'm keeping it on the rails, or is it just Thunderdome?
The way this usually works is that and often because of frost delays, we have to start a little bit later. So usually everyone's kind of taking it, I say seriously, loosely, but taking it seriously in the morning round, and everyone plays their own ball. And when we're running out of time and daylight towards the end of the day, it's more of a scramble and kind of mess around format.
I want bourbon!
Because some bros take their golf trips very seriously, and others, go build a snowman. It just kind of depends on how you want your trip to go.
Coming up tonight in the club, I would like to get into some wireless carrier talk.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because
you got an extra grind?
Well, not really, but have you shopped around at all?
I have not switched wireless carriers in probably... It's been 10, 12 years since I switched.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
Well, we're the same.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever switched.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well,
it's kind of a pain in the ass.
It is a pain in the ass. Well, actually, it's not. They make it pretty easy.
It seems like a pain in
the
ass.
No, they made it a pain in the ass for me.
It does feel like a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. So we have started that journey, my wife and I, because she's mad. So, and when she's mad, watch out.
Yeah, you make some switches.
So, boy, we just need to talk about the wireless carrier situation in the United States.
Okay,
we just need to do that.
I just find changing insurance companies, cable provider, anything like that, I think a lot of people stay even if they're not happy simply because the devil is better than the devil that you don't know.
I think that's very factual.
Yeah.
And I think that was proven by our venture on Saturday.
Understand.
They're a mess. All of them are a mess. They're an absolute mess.
And that's my thing is they're all going to kick you in the nuts. So why would I jump through a hassle to get kicked by someone else when I just keep getting kicked by the same person? That's fine.
We also have a new study that says water does nothing for your hangover, so you might as well just keep drinking.
I've known that for years, right? Let's go.
So this hour, we got our NFL Week 2 knapsack. Got a lot of NFL to get to, and our college football Crestini continues with the new #1 team in our Texas Longhorns.
Mm-hmm.
And another Manning.
Yeah, who would have thought that Georgia gets dismissed for Sark?
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
They almost lost.
Yeah.
How about that?
Kentucky was a bunch of cowards, too. They punted.
I did not think that we could get a more cowardly punt than the Raiders and Antonio Pierce.
I thought the exact same thing. I thought that was going to be the cowardly punt of the year, and then sure enough.
No. They're like, hey,
Can I nominate Mike McDonald for a cowardly field goal?
It was
sure you can.
Yeah, that's fine.
Did you guys think they should have gone for it?
It was a cowardly field goal.
I thought they should have gone for it there.
Absolutely. But there's a difference between a cowardly field goal and a cowardly punt.
No, that's true.
Because you're not getting anything out of the punt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just want you to know that the Raiders had it 4th and 1 from like the other team was the Chargers, right?
It was on the 40. It was like plus territory on their 40.
46 or something, and they punted with like 7 minutes to go, and Antonio Pierce said, well, it's a long one. I'm sorry. That is the coward that's you'll never find a more cowardly.
And they were down
punt.
at least a touchdown, weren't they?
Yeah, they were down a score.
Yeah.
They were down a touchdown. And then I give you Mark Stoops. What?
So we'll get to all this stuff right now. The hot 5 at 5:10.
Oh. Hot topics, hot opinions.
Oh, golly, hot to do.
And hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
That's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you on The Fan by Victor Rico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victorricos.com. Number 5.
Well, the pennant races are headed down the home stretch, just 2 weeks left. The Mariners have suddenly rattled off 3 in a row, but the problem is the Astros have won 4 straight.
Yeah.
The AL West lead is still 4.5. Interesting development, though, is the Mariners are now tied with the Tigers, just 2.5 back of the Twins for that third AL wildcard spot.
The wild card may be more realistic at this point. I got to look at the schedules there because the Mariners have 3 coming up with the Yankees, which not the best in the world. So I got to see what the LT Grays have.
Well, the Twins are currently leading the Guardians 3-0 in the 5th in Cleveland. I believe the Mariners are off tonight. The Astros are taking on the Padres down in San Diego.
Confirmed Mariners off.
And it is Paul Skeens night, too. He's pitching in St. Louis. Just, who cares about the Pirates?
Yeah.
But he's fun to watch.
By the way, the Tigers have your Kansas City A's.
Big series.
Well, and then 3 at Baltimore, too. So tough here for the Tigers, but they do get the Rays and the White Sox.
Tigers are sneaky good. They have good pitching.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming? Not me.
That whole division is good wonky. Let's see what the Mariners have to finish this thing.
Oregon's 49-14 win in Corvallis is not enough to gain them ground in the AP Top 25 this week. They are still number 9.
They got hopped by Cristobal, too.
Well,
sandwiched in between Miami and Penn State.
Miami looks really good. You can make an argument right now. Miami looks like a top 3, top 4 team in the country. But again, none of this matters. Just keep winning. It'll take care of itself. I don't understand who gives a rip where you're ranked after 3 weeks. Just keep putting W's on the board.
The SEC now has 6 of the top 7 teams in the country, including a new number 1 Texas, who leapfrogs Georgia. That, despite a Quinn Ewers injury, no word on how long he'll be out. He has an oblique strain.
It doesn't matter when Arch Manning comes in and decides to look like the second coming.
Is his name Arch or Archie?
I think it's Arch.
But is that short for Archie, or is his name actually Arch?
No, I think he's named after his grandfather and goes by Arch instead of Archie or Archibald or whatever.
Yeah, he had 5 tutties in that game. Looked good.
Did you see the run? They said that he ran 21 miles an hour on that run. Like, Arch, for a white boy, the Arch scoots.
Said he got his speed from his mom.
Dude, that's fast.
Should have called him Scoot.
There you go.
Scoot Manning.
Old Scoot Manning.
I'm going to that lake.
Chiefs lose running back Isaiah Pacheco 6 to 8 weeks with that fibula injury. Enter Samaje Perine and undrafted rookie Carson Steele.
Well, they need to figure out their offensive line, too.
The Jets already don't have Hassan Reddick for their pass rush. Now defensive end Jermaine Johnson tears his Achilles. He is done for the season. Another huge injury for the Rams as they lose safety John Johnson 4 to 6 weeks, hairline fracture in his shoulder. They're also saying Cooper Kupp could be headed to the IR. Boy, the Rams are just getting absolutely ravaged.
They are down, I think, 5 offensive linemen. The 6th one's playing hurt and is in and out. Top 2 receivers, starting corner, a safety. I mean, there's nothing left.
And they did say Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert had x-rays on his leg today. They came back negative. Jim Harbaugh saying they'll know more on Wednesday.
Yeah, that was an ugly thing that he got rolled up on. That's one of those just, dude, take the sack and live to fight another day.
Whoa.
What?
Tape the sack?
Take the sack.
Oh, I thought you meant like tape up his sack.
No.
Like what?
He was going down as this weird angle and he tried to throw it and just got rolled up on it. It looked bad.
Michigan's QB1 on Saturday against USC will be Alex Orji. This after senior starter Davis Warren was benched on Saturday. Warren has thrown 6 picks in 3 games. In Orji's 17 snaps, he ran it 13 times, threw it just 4, so different style of quarterback.
And that was the thing going in. Like, Orji was supposed to be the up-and-comer dual threat guy, but he can't throw. But you can't keep having Warren out there throwing picks. Michigan's got a real quarterback issue.
Wisconsin loses QB1 Tyler Van Dyke for the season. He has a knee injury. I mentioned this earlier, but out of 100 FBS quarterbacks, he ranked 100th in quarterback rating.
Apparently his backup's not very good either because Alabama took him behind the old cheese shed there. beat the
I thought
crap out of that.
it's so weird,
Number 1.
I kind of felt like it was a pretty good little getting him from Miami.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Yeah, that's what people thought. And then,
It just sucked. Now he's hurt.
Yeah.
And we have our first quarterback benched in the NFL. Bryce Young of the Panthers will give way to Andy Dalton. Young's QBR is 44, which is last in the NFL. Meanwhile, the Dolphins have signed quarterback Tyler Huntley off the Ravens practice squad, although Skylar Thompson is still likely the starter in Seattle on Sunday. And Monday Night Football is a battle of the birds. We've got Falcons and Eagles in Philly. Atlanta quarterback Kirk Cousins, 3-10 in his career on Monday night.
3-10, and I don't know if this is, when you see quotes floating around, you always have to be careful, but it was floating around and got picked up by a couple people that Troy Aikman allegedly, I was trying to confirm this, he said that Cousins told him he's not 100%, but he feels 100% in the pocket. And if that's
why
the
would
case,
you want that out there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't, again, I'd be careful with that. I've seen it floating around a bunch and people are attributing that to Troy. I haven't seen it from Troy, so you just look, there's a reason why they have him in the pistol. He's a play action guy. He needs to be under center, and it doesn't appear like they can do that right now. And some of the footage of him from practice working under center and taking dropbacks, he looks like Frankenstein back there. And by the way, he's horrible on primetime games and Monday night and Thursday Night Football. So this may be really problematic for the Falcons.
The Hot 5 at 5 is brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Order now at victorricos.com. I'll let you choose our NFL Week 2 knapsack or the college football crostini next.
Let's go with the NFL. No offense, but college football wasn't that exciting this week.
You got it. We'll start there when we return on The Fan.
Oregon Ducks football is on the
Cup or Civil War opinions, download hour 1 of today's program on the Odyssey app or anywhere else you get your podcasts, because we are moving on to the NFL.
Yeah, but we did big, juicy, meaty segments on those.
We sure did. And it was, particularly the Apple Cup, very interesting.
Yeah.
How that finished. But we are reaching into the NFL Week 2 knapsack here, Jace. Mm-hmm. My Seahawks are now 2-0.
Your Seahawks?
Oh, I'm sorry, our Seahawks.
Yes. Someone here had the Seahawks as the surprise team of the NFL.
You did.
And competing in the division, but a wild card spot. Hey, first place. Suck it, Niners.
Hey, that's what I love about the NFL, man. Just win.
Just win.
And they have done that twice.
Yeah, and by the way, Geno Smith.
He looks good.
Geno Smith he's good. Geno Smith was a top 3 quarterback in week 2. Geno Smith is good.
I think he looks good.
Stop it. He's good.
He is.
Geno is good with no run game to speak of whatsoever.
What we learned there, don't blitz him.
Geno is good.
Don't blitz him. Geno looks good.
I am definitively stating that Geno Smith is a very good NFL quarterback.
Yeah, I'm not. But he's doing a good job for them. And next up is Miami, and they should beat Miami because they've got Skylar Thompson on them at quarterback.
And if they just can figure out to run the ball a little bit, and no Kenneth Walker,
they need him back.
That's the component. The O-line is still a little spotty. They're having to do it with smoke and mirrors, but a lot of people are. Like, this is the beauty part of the NFL. When you have a good coach and a good system and a good quarterback, you can hide bad offensive lines. You don't have to have great offensive lines. This is the biggest misnomer about the 49ers. The 49ers had one of the worst blocking O-lines last year overall, but Shanahan does a great job of hiding it. And we think because they have Trent Williams, and yes, Trent Williams is amazing, but that is not an elite O-line. So you don't have to have a world beater if you have a good scheme. New Orleans is doing this right now. New Orleans has a very, very average offensive line, but they're scheming it up, and they're running some great stuff. And I know it's only 2 weeks, but so far New Orleans has the number 1 offense in the NFL, and that is a very average offensive line.
Don't look now, but if the Seahawks get by Miami, which they should, they play at Detroit. And they won at Detroit early last season.
Yeah, and that's a tough one, but
of course it's a tough one, but Detroit hasn't looked great yet.
Yep.
That's the Monday nighter. If they get by that, then they get the Giants.
Yep.
They could very easily be 5-0
yeah.
going into Week 6's matchup against the Niners, which is in Seattle.
Yeah, and the Niners have been their daddies. They have been their window daddies the last couple years, and we'll see what happens there. But and that's why I said it's still the Niners division. The Niners are really good. That was just one of those. Minnesota's a tough place to go play, and Minnesota's doing a real nice job, but I'm not worried about the Niners. Like I said, they're the best team in that division, but Seattle is going to compete, and I do think they're going to be a playoff team.
Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
he's the new Baker Mayfield.
Through week 2, when you get a competent system and Kevin O'Connell, and he's not asking Darnold to do a ton, but what he is asking Sam Darnold to do, he's doing a real nice job. Now, did you watch any of that Minnesota game?
I saw a little bit of it, yeah.
There should have been probably 3 interceptions. Like, Sam Darnold is still having those, oh my God, what are you doing moments. We've seen this. When they did this with Josh Dobbs. Like, when you get a really good scheme and a good play caller and good weapons, it can make you look better than you are. And look, Sam Darnold has done a really nice job, but again, it's 2 weeks in and we're already anointing Sam Darnold as this fixed product. There were some really bad moments against the Niners where they bailed him out and they just didn't catch the ball. So we'll see as this goes on. But right now, if you're Minnesota, you couldn't have asked for a better start. But now you got Jefferson, who's a little nicked up. So we'll see how this goes. But kudos to O'Connell. Kudos to Sam Darnold. Not a lot of people had Minnesota right now at 2-0.
Yeah, they play Houston next week.
Yeah, and that'll be a real test.
That'll be
Houston
a great
looks
game.
Really good.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah.
But 3 of the top 5 quarterbacks thus far in QBR, you know who they are?
What do you got?
Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, and Sam Darnold.
Yeah, how about that?
Minshew's got to be up there too, right?
No,
he's not in the top 5.
Well, in I know in stats he is. He's way up there with, like, I want to say yardage, completion percentage.
Okay, let me just. This is one of those. Gardner Minshew is.
He's
not
going to
good.
crap all over your Gardner Minshew
is not good. So let's just
went out and beat
stop.
the Ravens.
Derek Carr and what New Orleans is doing, I think right now that's the most interesting story in the NFL.
Do you see the stat about them? They went now 2 games in. Their starting offense has had 15 possessions.
Scored on every one, right?
Yeah. The closest team to doing that was like the Bucks in 2000. They did it 7 times in a row to start the season. Like, this is unheard of.
Well, and what's interesting is like Dennis Allen was going to get fired, so they go get Clint Kubiak, who's just kind of the next guy up of the Shanahan tree. He was just a dude on that staff, and what they're doing right now, again, without a great O-line, is pretty damn impressive. And again, I want to see if they're able to continue this, because when you look at what New Orleans is doing, New Orleans is basically doing it with 2-man routes. It's really weird, and that they're kind of running a lot of play action, max protection stuff. And normally in today's NFL, when you're playing shell looks, if you just run 2 guys out in the route, that's not a real recipe for success. And yet New Orleans is killing people with it.
I don't really understand what the Cowboys were doing.
And they had one where they ran a cover 2 shell, and who's the not Olave, but the other one,
Shaheed.
Yeah, dude, he just ran by the 2 Dallas safeties, just split them, and Derek Carr put it right in the pickle barrel. I mean, it's, again, don't know if this is going to be this way all season long, but what New Orleans is doing right now in scheme wise and kind of mucking up with different motions and chipping and back protections, they're really doing a phenomenal job of protecting what is a kind of an okay offensive line. And Derek Carr right now is just letting it rip, and they look amazing, and it's real fun to watch. And by the way, having that 41 guy back there healthy, we kind of forget about him because, you know, it's been kind of a clunky offense, and he's been chipped up lately. But we kind of forget he was Christian McCaffrey before Christian McCaffrey.
Well, and he's like knocking on the door 30, which is that running back age. And so I think people thought maybe there was no coming back for Kamara, but he's been great.
Well, yeah, he's 29 now.
Yeah,
and I think what's interesting about him is he's really like the reason why I think most people wrote him off is that when guys start getting hurt, no matter how good they are at that position, particularly in their mid to almost towards their late 20s. Dude, it never gets better. Like, give me another guy who has done this and all of a sudden just had a resurgence at running back. It doesn't really happen. Now, Saquon Barkley had a nice week 1, but he's a lot younger and was just hurt.
And we'll see again. This is the problem. 2 weeks. Can you keep this going? Will teams figure you out? Because what New Orleans is doing right now is a lot of scheme stuff. So we'll see if teams adjust to it. You see if you stay healthy. But right now, New Orleans is the surprise team. And look, not just with them, but in that division, we all assumed that Atlanta, when you looked at their schedule, that Atlanta was going to be like this 12-win team, and almost everyone, including me, was picking them to win that division. And New Orleans and Tampa just gave everyone kind of a middle finger. Tampa won that division last year. Baker Mayfield is still playing really well, and Tampa's defense rose up last night and had a great one against Detroit. All of a sudden, that division looks a lot more fun than we assumed it was going to be at the beginning of the year.
I would like to point out that the Saints were 2-0 last year as well.
Yeah.
So let's calm down.
Yep.
I would also like to point out that Dennis Allen is their head coach. So let's also calm down.
Well, and again, my O-line thing. Normally when you have funky O-lines, unless you're Kyle Shanahan, it usually comes back to bite you against better teams, see like the Miami Dolphins. So, again, we'll see how much this NFL teams are really, really good at figuring out what you like to do, especially when it's scheme and you're kind of fooling people. Like Green Bay last night, Green Bay couldn't throw the ball. I think Malik Willis threw the ball, was it like 12 times? And when you go back and watch Green Bay, that may be the most creative run scheme we've seen in like 10 years in the NFL.
LaFleur, baby.
Matt LaFleur is a really good coach, and he went into that game and said, we can't throw the ball. We know we can't throw it.
I was one of those dummies that said, I know they're not going to be able to. I have to bet the Colts.
So we are going to window dress the hell
you fool
out of all these runs. And they were throwing everything. Multiple guys in motion. They were running pin pulls. They were running gap. They were running do it. They ran like every run scheme known to man. And they ran the ball really, really well. It's not sustainable for like 12 weeks. But in a game you've seen, and we see this every year, you can scheme your way to wins, especially against kind of average to bad teams. but eventually you have to be able to do it against better teams, and it can't all be scheme, which is why sometimes these fun stories at the beginning of the year kind of fade out, but it doesn't mean they're not fun right now. And New Orleans is a great story, and I thought what Green Bay did with literally 2 hands tied behind their back because they couldn't throw the ball, I thought that was really impressive yesterday.
I will give you one of these two coaches to be your NFL coach. Okay, your young NFL coach.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to give you Matt LaFleur or Kevin O'Connell.
I'm going to take Matt LaFleur. That's tough because I really like Kevin O'Connell.
They're both really good.
They're both really good. Really, really, really good.
Or Mike McDonald. Do you want McDonald?
Nah.
Not yet?
Not yet. I think McDonald, unfortunately, I don't know. I think he, and I don't know how much of this is his GM and how much of this is him. I think he's a lot of window dressing and not a lot of substance.
Really?
And, yeah. I think when you look at Miami, remember last year, Miami beat one team with a winning record.
Wait. I said Mike McDonald.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about
Seattle.
McDaniel.
I was like, where are you going with this?
Sorry.
No, not Mike McDaniel.
No, Mike McDonald there's just I need to see more, and I'm still taking the other two because I'm a believer in this version of the NFL. If you give me the choice between bright young offensive guy, bright young defensive guy, I'm taking offense. Not that defense you can't win. Playing with a defensive minded head coach, seen it last time I checked. Bill was really good. I love in a league where the rules are set up for you to be successful offensively. Give me a guy that can scheme and craft. And I think the way that defenses are trending now, and we've all seen it, and this is, by the way, kind of one of the Mike McDonald effects. Almost every defense in the league now is doing the same thing, right? And that is, you will not get big plays on us, and we don't believe that you can go down the field 11 or 12 times in a row. This is just the way defenses are playing with these shell coverage looks, and then like the good ones are able to disguise a lot of stuff. See, Mike McDonald. So I think it's more important than ever with less preparation time, with less OTAs, with younger and younger quarterbacks. I just think it's so important to have a guy as your head coach that is actually an offensive designer, a play designer, an offense creator. It just more and more as offenses struggle, you see the difference between the bright offensive coaches and the rest of the league. So I'll always lean that way.
So the top 5 QBR so far, Derek Carr is number 1 at 142.
Dude, he's killing it.
By the way, the Saints have scored more points in the first 2 weeks than any other team since 1970, with the exception of one other Saints team in 2009.
Drew Brees, right?
Yeah, crazy.
Isn't it crazy, though, in a league
out of nowhere
that the offenses are struggling, and the offense that is just kicking everyone in the balls is the New
Dennis
Orleans.
Allen's isn't he a defensive guy?
Yeah, but they went out and got Clint Kubiak. So they went off. They literally just were like, we need anyone that suckled at the teat that is Shanahan. And they're like, oh, we'll take a Kubiak. And so there you go.
Baker Mayfield 2, Josh Allen 3, Kyler Murray 4, and Sam Darnold 5.
Yeah.
What a world.
Dude, the NFL it's
just
crazy. It's so much fun because you
never know. And Geno Smith is 7. And to your question there, Buckley, Gardner Minshew is 12th.
Okay.
He's sandwiched right in between Justin Herbert and Justin Fields.
Guy wins. That's all I know.
Well, that was a hell of a win.
Boy, they blew another double-digit lead.
Hell of a win.
In the fourth quarter.
So
They're up 10 with like 13 minutes to go.
We are now looking at Cincinnati and Baltimore that are 0-2, and they've both had Kansas City like right on the doorstep and not able to finish it. And, hey, I'm not saying you can't dig your way out of 0-2, but like it ain't good.
Will you trust in Pittsburgh or Cleveland to win that division?
No, and that's it. Let's pause because I want to go there next. The 0-2 stats are interesting. And I'm going to look up the division stats or the division odds now because I'm guessing you can get some pretty good value on either Baltimore or Cincy.
Yeah.
At this point.
I'm intrigued. Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
This is far from over. So we'll continue our NFL Week 2 knapsack next. Here's Buckley. Ravens, big loss. I mean, I didn't play Survivor this year, but I'm guessing that knocked a lot of people out of their Survivor pool.
I heard it.
Well, 2 weeks in a row because Cincinnati knocked a ton of people out against the Patriots in Week 1.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and let's also say, too, with New England, I know New England's not great by any stretch of the imagination, but some people thought New England was going to be the worst team in the league. They are not. That's a competitive football team.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah.
Not without their flaws, but
yeah. Hey,
fine.
and they got Jacoby Brissett. I mean, they're very limited, but, dude, they're
They're well coached.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why the beauty of the NFL is, man, there's some serious shockers in the first couple weeks, and it happens every year. And the Ravens losing to the Raiders is one of them.
Well, they had it. I mean, I was watching that game, and honestly, there was so much going on. I kind of stopped paying attention to it because it was over. And then you look up, and you're like, what?
Have they become the kings of just gacking it away? Like
certainly feels that way.
They cannot close.
No, they can't close. Well, they're kind of pulling like the Chargers were this way. You know, the Chargers are going to charge her, and now it kind of feels like the Ravens are doing this. They've done it in the postseason, and now they're doing. At least in the regular season, we always like, hey, it's a 13-win team. And then the postseason, they gack it away. But I'll tell you what, if you're the Ravens, dude, I mean, 0-2 starts traditionally don't end well.
Yeah,
now, I still
the
think
numbers.
the Ravens are a good team, but I mean,
here are the numbers on that. So they're 0-2. And if you go back to 1990 and just base it off the history of teams that start 0-2, they have an 11.5% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, they've switched to a 17-game schedule, so things are a little bit different now.
Yep.
And they said of the 21, there have been 21 teams in the 17-game schedule era that have started 0-2, and only 2 made the playoffs. So that's 9.5%.
Yeah.
So it's down in the under 15% range of teams that start 0-2 and make the playoffs. Now, what's interesting is I just checked the odds, and Baltimore is still minus 140 to make the playoffs.
Well, someone's got to win that division, and no offense, but I mean, Pittsburgh's offense is the definition of anemic. They're not going anywhere. It's again, that's smoke and mirrors. Deshaun Watson continues to suck. I mean, Cleveland is not good. So, I mean, Baltimore and Cincinnati, the saving grace is someone's got to win that division. And I still think if you ask me who's going to win that division, whatever odds you're giving me, I'll take Baltimore and Cincinnati over Pittsburgh and Cleveland all day long. I believe one of those two teams will still win. But when you talk about a competitive wild card spot, you know, it's just this is not the start you want. And now, if you're Baltimore, you got Dallas, and that's at Dallas. And I'm not saying that, you know, obviously the Cowboys got boat raced by New Orleans, but you know, Dallas is not a bad team. And then you got Buffalo. I mean, that's not a great start. Oh, and then by the way, after that, you got Cincinnati. So if you're Baltimore, that's a little sketch. Now, if you're Cincinnati, it's a little bit easier. You got the Commanders and you got the Panthers. This should be a 2-2 Cincinnati team. And then you get Baltimore, you get the Ravens. So, you know, if you're Cincinnati, I think you're like, okay, breathe. You know, we've always started poor. Burrow always looks terrible. We should have beaten the Chiefs. We feel like maybe the officials screwed us over a little bit. So I actually think from a worry meter a little bit, when you look at the schedule, I think Baltimore may have a little tighter pucker factor right now than Cincinnati does.
So here are the odds in the AFC North. Bengals plus 200. This is to win the division.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens plus 210.
Yeah.
The Steelers plus 270 and the Browns plus 550. I don't like any of those bets.
No, but if you made me, again, schedule wise, it says Cincinnati. Cincinnati's defense spooks me a little bit. You know, Trey Hendrickson, he single-handedly kept Baltimore in that game. I mean, he was an absolute force, but their defense scares me a bit. Injuries scare me a bit. I think I'd still lean towards Baltimore. Maybe that's just a trust factor. But schedule-wise, I think Cincinnati, because remember, Cincinnati's playing, you know, one of the weaker schedules, you know, because they weren't very good last year. So I might lean, because the odds are basically the same. I might lean schedule-wise. I just might lean Cincinnati.
All right, what is Brian Daboll doing?
Getting fired.
And Bo Nix is only on pace to throw 34 picks.
Ooh, I'm guessing that's some sort of record.
Yeah. We will get into those items, wrapping up our NFL Week 2 knapsack next on The Fan.
It's time for a
Knapsack, Bo Nix is struggling. Well, all the rookie quarterbacks are struggling.
Yeah, not a single. I love the fact that right now J.J. McCarthy is tied for the rookie touchdown lead
with zero.
None
of them have thrown a touchdown.
No, it's pretty bad.
So there's 3 of them: Williams, Nix, and Daniels. Yeah. They have thrown no touchdowns. They have 6 picks, and their passer rating combined is 64.2.
Hey, remember when the preseason and everyone was talking about how great these quarterbacks were and every team was thrilled with them? Turns out preseason football not indicative of real football.
Yeah, Bo Nix is on pace for no tutties and 34 picks.
Well, and this is the problem. Like, he looks completely lost. Like, it's the things that he's doing. If you ask me to go problematic 1, 2, 3. It's not even close. Bo Nix is the most problematic quarterback of these rookies. And now he's on not a very talented team, so it's not they're doing it in many favors, but the mistakes that he's making and the way he's playing, it's Bryce Young territory. There's just nothing. There's nothing good here.
Well, that goes counter to what people had been saying about him going in, right? Like the reason he got drafted so high wasn't because of like the flashy arm talent. They're like, Peyton was raving about his processing speed and the way he sees the field, and like the thing that was supposed to kind of be his calling card seems to be completely absent.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, we didn't really see this coming, did we, with him?
It's tough to know because Peyton made it sound, and this is like you're kind of a victim of your own hype. I talked about this at the beginning of the year with when the Blazers were doing the Scoot Henderson thing, or with Oregon. When you lean into it and you start, just raving about the kid and saying that like it's the best thing I've ever seen, and you really lean into it, you kind of set yourself up for it. So all we have to go on is what we heard about Bo Nix, and he looked good in the preseason, but this is what you always have to be careful of. Preseason is not real football. It's not against players that are going to be playing in the NFL. Half of those guys he was playing against aren't even on rosters. He's playing against me, for God's sakes. I looked good in those games, and I can assure you I was not a good player. And schemes are very vanilla, and all of a sudden you get in against real players and real schemes, and guys are disguising coverages, and he looks lost. So did we see it coming? No, we did not. But some of this is we do this every year where we buy into preseason hype with rookies, and whether it's Bryce Young or Caleb Williams or Peyton Manning or whatever, playing that position is really stinking hard for rookies. And the sooner we learn that, the better off we are. And like, CJ Stroud has a year like he had last year, and so we're like, well, CJ Stroud did it, therefore, there's a reason why that was an outlier.
Why? Because he's special?
He was just that good. And when you look at the steps he's taken from CJ Stroud right now is a top 4 quarterback in this league. The things he's doing early on in his sophomore season, there is no slump. And that just and you can say that it's scheme or that it's the players around him. Dude, CJ Stroud is really, really stinking good.
Well, the Steelers and Broncos combined for as many points as penalties. Yeah. I would imagine we could probably sue them for hurting our eyes so badly in that game. That was awful.
It's awful.
My eyes are very important.
I mean,
stop watching those offenses.
And I don't know, does Pittsburgh, they're 2-0, but did they go back to Russell Wilson, or do they?
Again, it's hard to know without being in practice, but I think it speaks volumes that they won't commit to Justin Fields. And that there's a reason why Russell Wilson, the starter. Mike Tomlin, this is what, ever since Ben Roethlisberger retired, right? What you're seeing Pittsburgh do, they do this every year, where they win 9 or 10 games, and they do it with limited offense. And so they're doing the same thing with Justin Fields, but Mike Tomlin knows you will not win anything important playing this way. So if Russell Wilson in practice gives you a better if Russell Wilson comes back and they bench Justin Fields, people will be like, how can you bench a guy that's 2-0? Watch him play, and that's how. Because this offense that they're running will not win you games against the better teams in the league. And the goal in the NFL is to not win 9 games against bad teams and eke your way into the playoffs. If that was the case, then crown the Miami Dolphins. So no, and you look at their schedule. It's not a terrible schedule, but you can really get fooled by winning close games against bad teams.
You want to hear Bo Nix talk about one of his picks?
Is it bad?
Yeah.
All right.
Bo, can you take us through the interception in the end zone? Drop back, threw it to the other team.
Well,
that's it.
At least he's being honest.
It's a bit like Scotty Scheffler the other day when he shanked one.
Yeah.
And they were like, Scotty, what happened on that shank? It's like, well, a shank is when you hit it off the hosel. I hit it off the hosel.
Well, I have not watched every snap of Bo Nix because, well, the Denver Broncos.
They're really hard to watch.
They're really hard to watch.
Like, really hard.
But when you go back and like, you have I subscribe to a little service where they just give you cut-ups of games and you can look at it and you can look at offensive highlights with no break in between. And Bo Nix has seen things that aren't there. It's some of the decisions he's making with where to go. That ball that he's talking about there was really bad, and yet it's not as bad as the interception that he threw the first week. The one he had against the Seahawks where he rolled out, I can't tell you. I literally could not fathom a guess of why he decided to throw the ball where he did. And that's kind of the frustrating part when you watch young quarterbacks play. And you see that when you're sitting in a room with them and you ask why you throw that ball and you don't have an answer for it, that's where stuff gets spotty, because how do you correct mistakes that aren't explainable? Right? Like you're not trying to fit a ball into a certain window. Like you thought it was zone. It turned out to be man. I don't know. It's just they're just really, really bad decisions. And then you get into, are you wrecking the kid's confidence and all these things. And I won't throw anyone under the bus after 2 weeks, but it looks really, really bad right now. And not that it looks good in Washington, not that it looks good in Chicago. They got their own set of problems, but the worst one right now is Denver, and it's not a very talented roster.
Well, how about your Giants, who
that's a whole other.
Scored 3 touchdowns, and their opponent did not score a touchdown, and they still lost.
Yeah.
First time in history, I believe.
How about that?
Yeah.
7 field goals.
Pretty impressive.
It's unbelievable. What the hell is Dable doing? He knew his kicker was hurt.
Well, and they went into the game with a kicker that was already banged up, and they didn't get another one.
Yes.
And did you hear they only went into the game with 52?
Yeah.
They had an extra roster spot to add a kicker.
And there's kickers left and right. You see it every week where someone's
Yes.
like, oh, they found this dumbass on the street and they went out and get him. Like,
Right. And they put a guy on the IR on like Thursday or Friday, and they had an extra spot, and they knew their kicker had an injury going in, and they just didn't add it.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's malpractice.
Once again, it really is malpractice. And this once again raises the question, why can punters not be better backup kickers?
Well, and that most of the time that is the case, that it's an emergency sort of situation. But, I mean, I don't know. Or you have someone, you have a wide receiver. There's usually someone that you can roll out there and kick an extra point on. But
I get that, but seriously, punters, all they do is punt.
Yeah.
And I get it's 2 different disciplines.
But yes.
But if you need an emergency kicker,
It should be.
Do they even practice?
Yes.
Do punters practice kicks?
Most of the time at practice, the punter and the kicker, when they're not doing anything, which is almost all the time, they're either working on their tan, doing sit-ups. Sometimes they'll bring a golf club out and chip, but yes, they usually will kick or punt and vice versa. So that's usually the emergency guy. So the Giants, if we're talking about worst teams in the league right now, I mean, clearly it's Carolina and everyone else, like, get in line. I feel pretty confident to say that the Giants are right there. Oh, Denver too. The Giants are bad, and Dable's gone. He's going to get fired. And that's weird, because his first year there in New York, you really thought that he had something cooking. He did a great job with Josh Allen, and did a great job with Daniel Jones, and ham and egg their way into 10 wins, and they got into the playoffs, and it's just it's bad.
On the bright side, he looks good. He's lost some weight.
Yeah.
Bottom line, they're ass.
Well, and Malik
fat.
Neighbors looks like a big time
Oh,
receiver.
that was a nice pick.
Yeah, they we had one dropsies there that hurt, but he does appear to be the real deal. But they're going to fire their coach, and Jones is gone, and then you're going to have to go back, and it's time to draft a quarterback and start again. And this is why finding quarterbacks in this league very, very difficult to do. And finding a quarterback and paying him $40 million when he's Daniel Jones sets you back a few years.
All right, we move on to the club. We will talk about wireless carriers, and a new study says water does nothing for your hangover. It is 6 o'clock on the Fan.
What's up? It's Isaac and Suk with our new friends, Ken and Donnie. They are from the
layout. There's like shirts and shoes and like all kinds of various, Is
it all trading and bartering, or is there actual currency exchange?
To be honest with you, man, it wasn't like I wasn't getting that in depth with it. But
throw around some fence, see what we can come back with.
Let's just say that we determined, me and my buddy, that anything that you wanted to buy at these street fairs, I'm fairly certain
was for sale available.
But it was weird because it was like, I mean, they have like this whole, like, it's an entire street that goes about like 5 blocks, and it's just, I mean, you think anything we got going on is bad? No. It's a whole other level up there. I mean, it's like zombie land. And everyone's doing like the slunched over thing, but then they've got like all these people that have like kind of tarps and stuff laid out, and then like in a very orderly fashion, like sweatshirts that are folded, and then like a random hodgepodge of shoes, and there's some pipes, for those. They had some butane lighters and just like
all the good stuff.
Yeah, all the good stuff. There was a couple like different shopping carts. There was some coolers, some bikes. I don't know exactly where all this stuff was accumulated from, but I actually noticed there was a really nice Duke's hooded sweatshirt, like a Duke Blue Devil. I was like, hey, it's a quality item for someone. I don't know how much it ran you. I didn't see any price tags, but I've never seen like a whole-on like homeless garage sale.
That's hot.
Yeah, it's something. And they're big into the slunchers, like where they're bent over at the waist. A lot of that.
Yeah. Isn't that is that fentanyl?
We were kind of going back and forth. We couldn't remember exactly what that was, but like it's a very specific drug. But boy, there's a lot of people bent in half up there in that fine city of Vancouver. So if you want to feel better about our homeless situation,
true story,
go up to Vancouver. You'll feel way better about it.
Yeah. Is it worse up there, generally speaking, or was it just what you saw?
Talking to people of Vancouver, yeah, it's like they've
pretty bad.
Well, they've the city has kind of shoved them into one area.
Yeah, that's what they do in San Diego.
Yeah, so if you like, most of the city is fine, but if you happen to be in that one area,
yeah, it's a mess.
Look out. But it's really kind of confined to just that specific section.
Yeah, I found that out the hard way in San Diego one day when I was down there. We were visiting.
Yeah.
We were staying down by Petco Park, just a couple blocks from Petco, and I had to go pick up a package or to drop off a package, an Amazon thing, like a return or something. Yeah. And I saw that the I don't know, the place where I needed to drop it off was only like a mile and a half away, less than that.
I'm going to walk.
And I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to walk. I'm going to see what's over on the other side of Petco Park. Oh, boy. That's where they keep them all.
Yeah,
right over there by the train station.
Ew.
And it is ugly.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I see what you did here. Thank God I'm staying on the other side.
Yeah. It's like, it's a known, like, I don't know what, we walked through like maybe 2 blocks of it and then we split off. And I don't know what businesses or like what is happening in that section, but I thought to myself, man, you imagine like you're running like a little like breakfast shop or whatever, and the city's like, hey, by the way, this is where we're all putting them. And it's, there's just no way that commerce can exist outside of their little, the homeless commerce. That's a real thing. I mean, it looks like a bomb went off too down there. And then Vancouver's a really, really nice city, but it's rough. In that one area.
My wife's mad at.
And not, by the way, people. It's not Vancouver. Someone's like on the text line.
Vancouver,
like,
BC.
Vancouver, BC.
Yeah.
Someone was like, Sue, is that over near Applebee's and SR 500? No. Wrong Vancouver.
No, that's just a dump.
Yeah, that's just where Will lives. No. This is up north, far up north.
Wow.
It's fun. Oh, he lives in the middle of
it.
He live in the middle of it.
Ortner catching strays here?
No, Will admits it. Like, he's like Will lives in a very, like, hey, man, it's where you can afford. He's a young guy. He lives in a sketch neighborhood. But no, Vancouver is such a, like, a progressive, like super, like some of the, like, most expensive real estate in the world. And like fancy cars and all that, but you got to have a section of the city where it's just
damn libs.
They've just kind of surrendered it, right?
Are they eating the pets?
But there was a lot of that. There was a lot of us. Like, you'd see a cat and we'd be like, they're eating the pets.
Are they stealing the geese?
They're eating the dogs.
Eating the dogs.
They're eating the
I
cats.
saw it on TV.
They're eating the pets. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
Jesus.
I have concepts of a plan.
Hey, so my wife's upset at our wireless carrier.
Yeah.
And rightly so, because
Does anyone love their wireless carrier?
I don't think so. I think there was a moment in my life where I thought one was pretty good that I had, but that's probably naivete.
Okay.
Or they just left me alone for the longest time.
Yeah.
But she's not wrong. Our bill continues to go up, and we continue to call them, and they can't explain why, and then they give you a credit, and then it happens again. Does this happen to you?
My bill, I every time I look at my bill, every single time I do the exact same thing. What? In the hell? I don't even bother anymore. I don't know. I just pay the damn thing.
Well, guess what? I'm like you. I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe
it's going to cost what it's going to cost, and we just pay it.
Exactly. She is not like that.
No.
She's like, this is not right. Our bill went up. And we have multiple lines on there. She's got a business phone. We've got her dad's phone.
And
We've
someone
got
trades
Meatball's
in a
phone.
damn phone, and then it's always confusing because you have to pay for the phone, but then there's credits, and it's the most complex billing thing of all time.
Well,
I understand none of it.
That's what they want.
Exactly.
Is they want that bill to be reading Japanese. And she noticed it.
You're speaking Japanese.
And she called them, and I was sitting there listening. They were maddening with this, like, well, I can't really see what's happening, and it looks like maybe you lost. They said you lost your auto pay discount because if you just set up a credit card to auto pay or a debit card, whatever, then you get a discount.
Sure.
She's like, you lost that because you switched credit cards, and my wife's like, I'm looking at every single one of our payments, and it's on the same card. We did not change it. And she's like, well, I got to forward you to someone else. And then that guy's like, well, I don't really know, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to credit you, and then hopefully it'll get corrected, and then next month you won't have the same problem. And she's like, no, I want to know that this is done and corrected and will not happen again because it keeps going up. So our bill has gone up, I mean, $70 a month?
Absolutely.
Over time because of this little crap. And they can never explain it.
No one can.
Okay, so that's bullshit. So she's like, listen, we're going to another carrier on Saturday. We're getting in the car. You and I, we're going out there, and damn it, we're going to get a new carrier.
It's like when you tried to cancel Comcast.
Well, I told her that story. I don't think she knew that story. But at the old house, I was so mad at Comcast, I tried to cancel them. And this was for internet. Yeah. And that's when I found out that there was no other internet provider in that area. I had to go groveling back to Comcast, which, by the way, that is where this drop right here came from. You laughing at me for being so mad at them.
You got so pissed, and then 24 hours later, you had to call back and be like, I want to restore my service.
Luckily, they're a big enough company that, nobody...
They all suck balls.
The new person on the phone didn't know that all that had gone down. Anyway, so we go to the new carrier, and boy... Have you been into any of these wireless stores recently?
I have not changed wireless carriers in over a decade for this exact.
But you haven't gone to like a store to maybe shop for a phone?
I was in a store in the last couple months just because I needed a new physical phone. It's the same carrier, but like I had to go in to
exactly.
And I switched my internet over. I get now my internet from my wireless carrier. So I've had
so
to
you've
go,
been in
yes.
there, and it's a mess. Yes. They're understaffed. It is Thunderdome in there. There's angry old people.
Yep.
They're understaffed, and the poor people there, at least at this one we went to, they were pretty nice. There were only two of them. Yeah. One guy had no idea what he was doing. He's like, look, I need this other girl to come around. I don't know. And so the other girl came over. She was clearly the leader, but yet she was swamped because she was working with 5 other people. It's absolute Thunderdome.
Yes.
So we got nowhere on it.
Of course not.
And so we went to the third carrier because, there's 3 main carriers.
Yeah.
We went to the third one. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Tell me you stayed with your original carrier.
Well, we haven't done anything yet, but we're just kind of checking. We're getting prices, right? Like, how hard is this? What do we need to do? Maybe we don't want to do this. We go to the third one, and it's over by our house. And, oh, my God. First of all, it smelled like smoke in there. But there was one...
Cigarettes or weed?
Weed. There was one guy in there, and he was... I want to say he was special. So I'm going to be nice to him.
Sure.
He had one customer. One. And that woman looked at the second I walked in there. She looked at me and with the eyes of like, do not. She's like, go, save yourself, go. So I go in there and I'm like, my wife's on a mission. We're not gonna leave. She wants to check this out. We drove over here. Let's just see what this guy says. Okay, so it takes him for effing ever to get over to us. He's working with one person. We sit there for 15 minutes, and finally he's like, okay, what can I do for you? My wife's like, well, we're thinking about switching carriers. What do you got? He's like, listen. And he goes, come over here. And he shows us his computer screen, and it's got 3 plans. One's for $27 a phone, one's for $42 a phone, and one's for $55 a phone. I said, what's the difference between the bottom 2 right here? He's like, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in the back, and I'm going to print something out for you. I'm going to give you a little homework. He goes in the back, and it takes him 18 minutes to do this. He printed out 42 pages from their website and said, here, read this. That was his idea of sales.
The best part about
that was his idea of not having to read the 42 pages
himself.
himself.
You stay with the carrier that you hate because there's no other option.
No, I think we're switching, but we have to. There's a lot of phone lines involved, and so we have to wait on Meatball's final decision to know what we're going to do. But we're definitely not going with the third carrier. I can tell you that. I cannot believe the situation in that particular office. And so I get home. And my son's fiance is there, and she is because we're talking through all this, and she has her phone through that third carrier where we had just like, I mean, who is this guy? How is this guy even hired? And she said, well, it may have just been it's a bad store, one bad worker. And it's like, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Needless to say, we didn't read the 42 pages, and we already eliminated them. So
they're out.
Yeah. But to be fair, it could have just been, that particular guy. But so now I don't know which is worse. The wireless carriers and how they operate, the TV cable companies and how they operate, or the airlines and how they operate. They're all so
they don't care.
Effing bad.
And I submit to you the insurance companies and how they operate.
Because that's true too.
Because it just doesn't matter. They are like, whatever. You're going to go, their whole thing is, you're going to get mad at us, and you're going to go out and find out it's not better anywhere else. And so you're just like that old married couple, and your spouse has gotten fat and lazy, and they're mean, but you're fat and lazy and mean, and you can't find anywhere else. And you're like, look, neither one of us can stand anyone else, so they're just going bad. That's the way all these companies work.
And those carriers, they're like, you need your cell phone more than we need you.
Yes.
Well, I did get the sense that none of them cared if we bounced back and forth. Like, they just don't care. Like, the people in the stores couldn't give 2 rips that I thought maybe we were going to get you would like to switch? Here's what we're offering you. I will make some commission off this, so I'm going to try to sell you on this.
No.
Oh, they couldn't give two S's.
When you go to like a car dealer, like they're like, don't go look somewhere else. Like, what can we do? Let's try to make you feel comfortable as possible. Like, let's
It is
do
not
this.
like that.
No.
And it used to be the TV and internet people would do that. They'd be like, I'm thinking about switching to a dish. And they're like, well, let me give you 2 months free and throw in some HBO.
What's it going to take to get you into this deal?
That doesn't happen anymore.
They do not care.
When I called to cancel my Comcast service after, one, being a spokesman for him for a number of years, being with them for over like 12 years, and I was like, I literally said, I get a worse deal than if I was never a customer and I signed up brand new. And the lady goes, that's right. I said, so you can't give me even the deal that I would get if I was a new customer? And she goes, no. And so I said, so why wouldn't I just go somewhere else? And then if I wanted to switch back or just go somewhere else? And she's like, that's a good point. And so I was like, well, I'm going to cancel. And she was like,
they like dare you to do it.
Yeah, she was like, fine.
Bye.
And remember, I had a buddy of mine who gets a brand new phone every year. He always gets the brand new iPhone. And so this was like a year or so ago, and he hates that I have an Android. So he goes, dude, this phone's like 8 months old. Take it. It was like the iPhone 15 or whatever. He's like, go in and switch over to it. I took it into my carrier and said, I just would like to switch from this phone to this phone, Android to iPhone. And the guy's like, it's going to be tough. I don't know. Passes me off to 2 other people. We spent an hour trying to transfer over my information to an iPhone. He goes, you might want to go to a bigger store with more of an IT guy. So I go to the store that they recommended to me. I was there for an hour, And their solution was, if you want a new phone, I would recommend just getting an Android because I don't know what to tell you on this one. They're like, it's beyond our scope. They couldn't even switch from an Android to an iPhone. And I was like,
Which seems like something enough people would want to do nationwide or internationally that there'd be an easy way of doing that.
They just don't care.
But then it makes you appreciate companies like Costco.
Yes.
Companies like Amazon.
Yes.
That do seem to really care about the customer service that they provide.
Yep.
I appreciate that, after dealing with these
When
clowns.
you get good customer service, it is shocking. You're like, what? What's happening?
Wait, you care about me?
Oh, what?
And Costa's right. He says they all suck. I just go with the one that's cheapest out of the biggest companies.
There you go.
And that's what I'm going to do. And unfortunately, that is not the one we're currently with. We're going to have to switch. And I told my wife, I said, you better expect bad customer service from this new one. She's like, oh, I do. But at least, hopefully, the bill stays the same every month.
It won't. It won't. And
then we'll go to the third one.
I have called so many times to try to have my bill explained to me, and it just they wear you down.
They have more will.
They do have more will. What do they have? They got time. You want to be on this call for 30 minutes? You're like eventually.
Well,
like,
they can also tag out.
Yeah.
And
It's
just
like,
bring in the fresh one.
Well, right, and if you
like
fold,
buying a
then
Kirby.
you don't have your cell phone. Like if you're like you ultimately are giving up the thing that you need. So they're like, well, you'll come back eventually.
The girl's in the break room with a Gatorade and a towel. She gets up. She hears the whistle. She's like, I got to go get this guy's being stubborn. I got you.
Dude.
I'll take over.
They're like the hot girl at the bar. She doesn't have to try because eventually you're going to come back. I don't care how much of a bitch she is. She's hot, and you'll eventually circle back to her, and she knows it. And if you don't, someone else will.
Is it true this guy's saying if you want better customer service, go to the corporate stores, not the franchise stores? Is that true?
I don't know what to tell you.
I have no idea.
That sounds right, but I don't know. If
I don't want to call out Mike. I don't know. I go. There's a.
Who are you with?
Yeah, that's what he doesn't want to do.
Who are you with? Who are you with, Buckley?
It's all an S show.
I'm a loyal Verizon customer.
Are you?
Have been for some time.
Okay, and you're okay with them?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm
okay. Well, I have to tell you now. I have to tell you.
Okay.
That's who you're bailing on?
No, the third store was Verizon.
Really?
With the goober in there that printed off 42 pages.
Then I'm kind of with Meatball's fiance. I think it may be worth checking another spot. You might have just got a bad situation because Verizon's been pretty good to us over the years.
I think that guy's point about a franchise, that was probably just a franchise that some owner doesn't give a rip about, as opposed to the corporate store.
Well, I am T-Mobile. And
okay.
They're
fine. Have you been with another carrier?
Yes. The funny part is years and years ago when my late wife was around, she was a Verizon person.
Okay.
And we had to leave Verizon because she got so pissed off at Verizon.
Mm-hmm.
And then we switched to AT&T. And we left AT&T because I got so pissed off at AT&T. And we're with T-Mobile. And I've been plenty pissed off at T-Mobile over the years, but less pissed off than the others. And I don't want to switch it up again. And so it's just, they're fine. That's all I can say. If someone said, would you recommend T-Mobile? This would be my thing. They're fine. They're fine. They offer a lot of like free things. And so I'm just like, I don't know. And there's a store by my house and it's good enough. It's good enough.
Yeah. What a world. I mean, they're so bad. They're like the airlines.
Uh-huh.
It's just, it's frustrating. Well, we're with AT&T.
For now.
So we're flirting with T-Mobile.
Yeah. Well, I will give you.
But I'm not sure if we should.
I will give you this. They're fine.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Well, if your bill stays the same every month, that's really all we ask. You leave me alone, and I'll leave you alone.
It shouldn't be that hard.
It should not be that hard.
But careful getting into the credits.
New study next on The Fan.
A setback for the orange and black.
We had some drives and
Okay.
Okay.
So just you're talking about in the morning when you wake up.
Yeah. Or at night. Like some people are all drunk.
Yeah.
And they get home and they chug a bunch of water, thinking that's going to help them.
Sure. I don't know if it's real or not, but for me, if I'm going deep, I get to a certain point. Like if I hit double digits, then I go 1-to-1 water booze. So if you're going deep, then you got to water, and then you can drink water, then drink, and I've always found that helps me.
There's a persistent belief that chugging water after a night of drinking can counteract the effects of too much booze, but experts say it does little to prevent the fresh hell of a hangover. Using data from 3 studies, researchers in the Netherlands concluded that dehydration is not the sole cause of a hangover, meaning that drinking water has a limited effect on the body's recovery.
Okay.
The review tracked the hangover symptoms of boozers who drank water before bed versus those who didn't. Results showed that those who drank water felt less dehydrated but experienced the same degree of pain, nausea, and exhaustion as those who chose to forego the water. Researchers concluded that consuming water during or directly after a drinking session is ineffective in preventing hangovers. Further, drinking water after the hangover had set in was not shown to alleviate any symptoms.
So what you're saying is, screw you, water, just keep drinking.
I think
hair of the dog.
This goes back to my theory that the single best cure for a hangover, and I cannot be convinced of anything. I mean, I'm an experienced drinker, man. I've tried everything.
Yeah.
Played 4 white guys and Egyptian. We tried everything.
Tried.
I tried everything. We played 4 white guys and an Egyptian. I mean, we tried everything.
2 drinks, no more, no less, is perfect.
What do you mean?
2 drinks, no more, no less.
Oh, you're saying don't drink more if you don't want a hangover?
No, I'm saying if you are hungover, have 2 drinks.
Oh, I see.
No more.
As the cure. Got it.
No less.
Yes.
You don't want to drink more
Yeah.
because now you're gonna the law of diminishing returns.
Sure.
2 drinks is gonna help you just
Balance
kind
out.
of
Hair of the
balance
dog.
that
Yeah,
out.
there you go.
And then you can sleep it off, and you'll be better the next day.
Sure. Okay.
That's
All right.
my.
I'm with you on
If
that
I'm
one.
really hungover, which I don't get anymore, but back in the day,
Yeah.
that's what I would do.
Okay. Nice.
Maybe a mimosa
Yeah, you wake up, you just kind of
or
keep
2,
keep it going a little bit.
and then you just cruise off of that.
Yeah. I know some people like in Asia they have a big hangover pill. That's always one. You know, there's different medications for that. Some people over there swear by it.
I've seen those. I mean, clearly some people must buy them. Do those work?
I don't know. My kids try them and stuff. I'm not a big hangover guy. I'm pretty good at as long as I got something to eat. I'm usually pretty good at bouncing up, and I'm an exercise guy. If you wake up and you're hungover, I'm a big believer of get up and start sweating. But some people swear by those pills. Other people do the Gatorade and Tylenol. I got some friends of ours that are like, if you're over at their house drinking, they give you the Tylenol and the Gatorade like beforehand. They're like, here, this is for you. So I don't know. Everyone's got their own technique, but it makes sense that waking up and just drinking water isn't going to fix it.
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
saying
at that point it's way too late.
They're saying that the hallmark effects of a hangover are the result of oxidative stress and the body's inflammatory response to alcohol consumption, whereas dehydration, you could just drink water and you're no longer dehydrated, right? Like you're thirsty and that's it. Like that's quickly solved.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've noticed, you can drink a S ton of water, your hangover is not quickly solved. It takes the same amount of time to go away.
No. I just find that it goes back to some preparation. Mix in some waters, do some eating while you're drinking, and to me that can mitigate you feeling like crap, or help you
Well,
go
I
a
think
little deeper.
when you mix in the water during, I think the only thing that does is maybe make you more full to not want, like, so let's say you're drinking a bunch of beer or something. Water is going to help. Maybe I think it would help you drink less if you're drinking water in between there, because you're just shoving liquid down your gullet.
Sure.
But I think what this is saying is that even water during a drinking session does not help you.
And I may be wrong about this, but I thought that specifically the headaches caused from a hangover were due to an imbalance in like sugar and hydrogen from all the alcohol you consumed. So I thought that consuming more water while you were drinking helped that imbalance. Like, not like it makes you sober or whatever, but it makes that discrepancy not so much. I was led to believe.
Well, in your face, Buckley.
Well, it's funny because the only part of a hangover that I ever get, like I don't throw up. I haven't thrown up from booze in 20 years. The only part of a hangover that I get, it can be the headache, and that is only wine. Wine is the only thing that gets me. If I spend an entire night drinking wine, I will wake up with a headache the next day. But beer and liquor does not do that. I've always assumed that's just the sugar, right? That the wine headache.
I thought so too.
It's the tannins.
Oh, that's right. We talked about that. The
Yeah.
tannins. That's the only thing that gets me. So
It's some people. It's not all people. But
well, it's
yes.
just weird that I can go on a gnarly whiskey binge and it will be nothing compared to if I just go out with stay at my buddy's house and we just drink wine.
So they say that tannins from wine can disable enzymes in your body, which then release serotonin into your brain, and that causes excruciating headaches.
Yeah, that's no fun. The wine headache. And just know yourself. It's like we should all know kind of where we're at and just listen to your
How about
body.
this?
Some people do it better than others.
Don't drink too much.
That's right.
How about that?
No.
What about that?
Hey, I got one of these, right? Let's go. You get one life, and hey, sometimes you need a little anesthesia. Dude, my doc says juice and sugar helps a hangover. I just feel like everyone has an idea. Everyone.
Frank Sinatra. The text line reminds us of Frank Sinatra's theory on this.
What's that?
Of course, he was a big booze hound.
Oh yeah.
He said hangovers are for people that are dumb enough to stop drinking.
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah.
Technically, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, quitters. Just keep going.
2 drinks, no more, no less. It'll ease the pain.
You and Sinatra. Who better to take advice from?
I can't say that I've tried yours specifically, but I will say that the morning mimosa, the late morning, early afternoon seltzer after like a rough night, I'm starting to think you might be onto something here.
Yeah. It deadens the pain. And then you can sleep. Because it's just time. It just takes time.
Yep.
All right. What is next, you ask?
I am asking.
Why are you asking me? I don't know.
Something.
Do you believe?
We've got a notable death.
Oh, a notable notation?
In the world. Someone has died. I don't know if 70's gone too soon, but...
That's a little early. I don't like that.
Probably.
Yeah.
We'll get to that next. Here's Buck.
Now.
I don't think Randy was.
Oh yeah, no,
was he in an OG?
Randy
He
Jackson?
wasn't in the Jackson 5.
No, he was the bass player for like Journey or Tower of Power or something. You talking about like Dog, that Randy Jackson, like the American Idol, that Randy Jackson, or was there?
No, there's a Jackson brother named Randy.
The only ones that I know, honestly, are Tito and Jermaine.
I mean, there's like 9 kids.
Well, and then because there's Janet and who's the one that posed naked? Latoya.
Yeah.
Is there any normal Jacksons? Like, can you be normal? Is Janet the most normal?
I mean, hasn't Jermaine kind of presented himself fairly normal?
Is he?
I mean, I don't know. They're probably all insane.
Well, they're always seem bitter and angry, and
well,
that's just a weird.
There's only 3 left.
All right, well, rest in peace,
Tito.
Like
the vodka, Tito's.
Well, I just, Michael was messed up because of the upbringing, so I don't, I would assume that the rest of them are very similar to that. I'm not sure you could grow up in that home and not, not have it affect you. It's old Joe Jackson, who I think is dead too. That guy.
I think sometimes it depends on where you are in the hierarchy of kids.
Yeah.
Like
where, you got less attention.
Yeah, because I think or things just went south. You stack up a bunch of kids, and all of a sudden the olds are like,
Well, Michael was getting beat because Michael was like the meal ticket. And I think Tito may have just flown underneath the radar. It wasn't really important.
We have a situation in our family where, I mean, there's 6 brothers and sisters, and the oldest has a very different viewpoint on how everything went down than the youngest.
Sure.
Yeah. Because the oldest saw, the abusive parties in a different light.
Absolutely.
Than the youngest. So it's maybe a little bit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, we're all shaped by our. Again, if you talk to my family, I'm sure they all. And my kids are this way too. It's like everyone views it differently. Like I always ask my kids all think that someone else is the favorite, right? Or if you ask people in my family, I was the youngest, therefore I got babied. And then if you ask me, I would say that I got crapped on because I was the youngest. Then
my son is an idiot.
There's always that, right? And the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. You ever talk to like a family member or a sibling or something? And
oh yeah.
You talk about your childhood.
Well, my brother.
And you couldn't view it.
It's a polar opposite.
Yeah, and you're like, dude, that is not the way that happened at all. And they will swear to the cows come home that it was one way, and they're like, oh, that never happened. And you're like, I remember that vividly. And you're like, it's just sometimes it's like beating your head against a wall. Because everyone remembers things differently. And I'll bet you the Jacksons, boy, you want to talk about some repressed memories or viewing things through different prisms. I don't know if there's a family that's more effed up than the Jacksons.
I love that word, prism.
Yeah. Can you imagine sitting down with Tito and just asking him, hey, man, what was it like growing up being Tito Jackson?
Well, who was the oldest of all the Jackson kids?
I think it was Jermaine.
Was it?
Yeah. Because Michael was the youngest, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Michael was the youngest.
Yeah.
Certainly of the Jackson 5.
Yes. Yeah, Michael was just a kid, because I remember like when you see him in the 70s and stuff, Michael was just a little tiny fella.
All right, in order, you have Rebby, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Latoya, Marlon, Brandon, Michael, Randy, and Janet.
But was like Rebby ever?
Oh, Janet was the youngest?
Janet the youngest, born in 66.
Wow.
I don't remember Rebby Jackson at all.
Well, you mentioned some names in there that I had no idea.
I've never heard of
How
Rebby
many?
Jackson.
So there were 9 of them?
According to this, yes.
God. And so there were 4 that
10 of them.
Oh, there were 10? There were 5 that weren't in the Jackson 5?
It says 5 of the Jackson children, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and Michael, were members of the Jackson 5.
Yeah, okay. And then Randy, Latoya, Janet, and who else?
Rebby?
Rebby?
Rebby was the oldest.
Okay. Never heard of him.
Yeah. That's just...
Oh, wait.
And Brandon.
What?
Who I've also never... Brandon is deceased.
Rebby's female.
Oh, okay. Brandon was... looks like born and died at birth. It looks like.
Okay. I'm gonna say
Rebby is a female. She's
really?
Yeah, she's 74.
Oh, Brandon was a twin of Marlon, and Brandon didn't make it. Brandon and Marlon born the same day, but Brandon died that day too.
The plot thickens.
Yeah, when you look up, I've never heard of Rebby. When you look her up, she 100% looks like.
Dude,
she looks like a Jackson. She's
I'm
really
sorry.
Pretty.
How is it that we have never heard? Are we that dumb that we have never heard of Rebby Jackson, the oldest of the Jackson? She's.
What has she ever done?
Well, I don't know, but you would think we would. We've heard of Jermaine. We've heard of Tito.
No, I've
never even heard of her.
Never even heard of her. She's beautiful though. She's a good-looking gal, and it says she was a singer, but you know, I literally, I would assumed Rebby was a dude. I was like, you got me. And I've seen some of those like Jackson 5, like the movies based on them. I never remember hearing about Rebby. So again, I wonder if Rebby is the most normal and is like, thank God no one paid any attention to me. He just let me do my own thing. Like someone like the Jackson 5, like the dad just beat the living hell out of those boys. And like they were like Michael, they were like devout Jehovah's Witnesses, but the dad was like an absolute dirtbag. So the dad was and the brothers were like stooping girls on the road, and with like Michael in the room making him watch and stuff. I mean, those kids didn't have a chance, especially Michael. You know, but that's one of those people will be like, oh well, you know, look, he raised famous kids. Yeah, he raised a famous kid, and effed a lot of them up.
Isn't that always the case with? It's like Tiger Woods' dad. Like, he wasn't good.
No, he's a terrible dad. But the end justifies the means, right?
But his kid's got a lot of money, so.
Yeah, if you produce a kid that's rich, then that everyone's like, well, yeah, he's a great father.
Well, it was complicated.
It was complicated. No, it wasn't. Joe Jackson was a horrid father and human being.
I want to know more about Rebby. All right, we got a break. The Ducks Roundtable coming up in 10 minutes on The Fan.
The home of dirty.